Hey, what's happening? How you guys doing? Welcome to another edition of Funk Music with Zack. Here on IBM.TV. We got a really cool show popping for you today. It's going to be happening. I have my very good friend, Nancy Marie's coming on, and we're going to chop it up about all types of things, including this wonderful podcast that she's doing, as well as some of her other music things that she's done, videos, working with the KHX experiment. First of all, I love you guys out there. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you again for coming. It's really good. Welcome to my world. Welcome to our IBM.TV family and Funk Music with Zack. We're also going to kick it a little bit about some of the social issues that's going on, especially a little teeny bit about what's happening since the election has happened. If you got a birthday out there, know that I'm saying happy birthday to you. If you got an anniversary or you're with somebody you love special, give them a hug right now. Happy anniversary and much love and peace to you guys. If you lost someone sadly due to COVID or any other illness, somebody that you care about that's special in your life, and we're all special. Please know that we love you. And if you're in any type of pain, please never hesitate to reach out. I'm always here. You can find me. I'm all over social media, Facebook, and you can make that happen. But as we always do, we're going to come in hot right now before I bring Nancy on with something that I like to call, getting it up with some water. I need everybody to get up out there. And I need everybody to just be thankful for what we got, because you don't miss the water until the well runs dry. You feel me? Here we go. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that's what I wanted. If you're in the house, clap your hands like this. You know how we got to come in hot. Today's guest, Nancy Marie. Bringing it in, y'all. We need some water. Get your spirit right. Get your mind right. Funk Music with Zack is in your house. New York, where you at? Philadelphia. How you doing, Nancy? You know we come in hot. Yeah. All right.
Wait, I know we're doing the funky glasses. Here we go.
There you go. Get it. Nice. Philadelphia's in the house. DC. You go, what? Funk Music with Zack is in your face today. Our special guest, Nancy Marie. Woo! Yeah. Welcome. That's how we come in hot all the time. Our special guest today, beautiful black woman, entrepreneur, got all the necessary skills to blow everything up in the music business and entertainment. Nancy Marie, how you doing? Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Zack. It's good to see you.
You too. And I'm loving that swag, that style, loving them glasses. Obviously, we've been knowing each other for a minute, even though I live here now. And it's the first time I've had you on, so I'm honored.
I'm honored to be here, man.
Blessed. Yeah, I'm blessed to be able to kick it with you a little bit and vibe about some things that's going on. So you're in Philly now, but tell us a little bit. First of all, where are you actually from? Where were you, born and bred at, so to speak?
I am a girl from Queens, St. Albans.
There you go, St. Albans.
Hitting, holla.
Yo, Jamaica funk. That's what's up.
Yes.
That's what's up.
From Queens.
So you was in the midst of all of that good stuff that I always hear our queen talking about, with that whole St. Albans, Queens connection with the music, entertainment.
Yes.
Everything you guys are doing was so special. And obviously we've lost a lot of people since then, but you guys are still there to carry it on. And that's a beautiful thing. People don't know about that area of New York City. People always think Manhattan, a lot of people think, hey, Broadway and all of that. But the heart of the heartbeat of that music thing came from Queens. You know,
That's right.
Who were some of the people that you was hanging out with that you were influenced by at that time, just growing up? You know, getting into the business, and you know, as a young buck out there, who did you get into?
Oh, well, okay, well, let me start in my house
There you go.
because my older sister is the first African American female composer producer in the advertising agency. So I don't know if you remember the Hilltop promotion. I'd like to teach the world to sing. That was her first.
Yes.
That was her
Really?
first. Yeah, that was her first jingle that she worked on. And then she went on, she stayed with McCann Erickson for some years, and then she formed her own company under which she did Miller, Coke, Pepsi, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Wow. If you ever saw the Luther Vandross special on BET, Luther told the story of how his famous Woo was born. It was born in the studio. Right. He was working on a jingle with Debbie for Geno's, right? And so the line was, Geno's, you'll come for what we got, Geno's, you'll go for it sizzling hot. And Debbie was like, no, give it something that's going to make it, you know, sizzle, sizzle, whatever. So he changed the line to sizzling hot, right?
Wow,
and,
really?
Yeah. And he said the booth went crazy. So his thing was, okay, I'm saving that for my stuff, you know? And so that's how that was birthed. Wow,
that's deep.
And he did document that. Yeah. It's in that BET special on Luther. Yeah. So my big sister, you know, she was a big influence as far as the music was concerned, but also she was kind of like a deterrent, if you will, because she was so major. I was like, okay, well, maybe I better lead the music to her, and I'm going to go the theatrical route. So for a while, I was really doing the acting thing. That's actually what I went to school for.
Right.
Went to the high school for performing arts. I had actually got accepted to music and art for vocal and to performing arts for acting, and ended up going to performing arts. But to hear music and art tell it, I went to music and art. Terry Burris used to always, because I spent so much time up in music and art, people actually thought I went there. And Terry Burris every day, that's Nancy coming to class today. Like, Terry, she doesn't go here or whatever. But
right.
The theatrical stuff. But you know, musical was always in the background. So what happened really was, you know, singing with the different bands and stuff. I was working with Paul Frawley, Clay Barrett. I ended up in a group with John Willis and Kevin and Andy LaSalle, you know, some of the nappy head Punk Army alum. It was called GEMSA.
Yes.
And, I was doing a lot of writing at the time, though, you know, as well. So I got connected to a producer named Ron Dean Miller. And, you know, he asked me to do a couple of tracks for an artist by the name of Vicky Love.
Right. Yes.
I wrote these tracks, and I thought that it was the greatest thing I'd ever done in my life, right? And I handed the tracks over to him, and he came back at me and was like, don't you ever have me know like this again. And he just tore my work down. And I thought it was like a really great song because I always like to put meaning behind what I'm writing, you know. Right, I don't just like throw stuff together and just, you know, put it out there. It has to have a story. It has to have relevance. It has to have a meaning and deliver a message. And the particular song that I'm speaking of, it dealt with a young girl who was in a domestic violence experience. And man, he tore that song apart and told me, now you go back and you write it again. So I called myself being spiteful and vindictive, right?
Right.
And I wrote this song. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give you what you want. You know,
you wrote it out of spite. Wow, that's a good one.
I did. I was like, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you, right? So I handed it in. Why did it become a #1 hit?
See, that's what, because you wrote it out of spite.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? But the song was called "Take a Chance," so that was my first time hitting Billboard. I actually did 3 songs on Vicky's album.
Okay.
And one, Stop Playing on Me, was another one. And that one actually ended up getting picked up by NBC Television when they did the remake of Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yes,
So
yes,
it became the title song to an episode called The Gloating Place. So
right.
thank you, Mr. Miller. I'm still collecting residuals. You know, life
Good
is
for
good.
you. Good for you. Let me shake your hand.
Sometimes you have to put yourself aside and, you know, do what you need to do. But yeah, that I love to tell that story because it was just so funny, you know,
That's a
because
great
like
story.
I said, I was like, oh, I'm gonna show you, and
Right.
he showed me. So, you know,
Right,
lesson learned.
Let me ask you a quick, because I gotta dissect this just for a hot second. So Luther's
Okay.
in there, right? And then you know that thing that he does, he developed that while he was doing those commercials and stuff. Because that, you know, it's funny, that World to Sing that your sister did, and I just gotta
Yeah.
say this, that those commercials used to make me cry as a kid. Because that's why I knew I was all emotionally into the music part, because it was so
Right.
beautifully done. And I just wanted to tell you that and compliment, you know, your family and your sister for that, because, you know, as a kid, you're watching this commercial. I'm not really worried about the product. As musicians, you know, as an entertainer and musician yourself and an artist, we listen to stuff for the substance. And then, you know, the commercial could be after. I couldn't care less what they was selling. I was like, this is so cool. There's a whole bunch of people just
Yeah.
chilling, you know?
Right. The music played such a part. You know, we don't experience that today the way
Yes,
we did
exactly.
back in the day. I mean, I can remember the lyrics to theme songs to TV shows, and
Yes, yes,
sometimes you just wanted to see the opening credits because the
yes,
music was
yes.
so hype, so
Yep, yep,
bomb. So
yep,
yeah,
yep.
it was a beautiful time of life. You know, just being in Jamaica, Queens at that time. I did leave for a short while. My mother ended up moving to Hollywood. So I was there for a year, and then I ended up coming back to New York, and I was between Queens and Manhattan, and
Mhm.
doing things. But Queens will always be my home.
Yeah,
That's where everything started for me. It's
yeah.
just amazing, and the connections are still there. So
You know, I love when you guys mention that about your hometown, Queens, because you know I'm from Bayshore, and we're on Long Island, attached to Queens, or Queens attached to us, but we never. It's the island. You know, we're not
yeah,
considered a borough or anything else. So way out
right.
there, I always felt lost. And when I made the Queens connection and met everybody and kind of got in that circle, I was very humbled and honored that you guys kind of took me in as an outsider, because I didn't grow up in that neighborhood, and I wasn't there. So I thought to myself, I was like, I was riding home and I was like, okay, maybe what I'm doing is pretty cool because they actually dig it. And it was
Yeah,
good. Yeah, because you always worry. You hear about Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the musicians. But we had a couple on Long Island, but a lot of cats just didn't want to really venture out that far. So I was very grateful and humbled. You did something called A Gate Called Straight. And tell me about that. It had something to do with the Wiz. So tell me a little bit about that.
yes. So that was the gospel adaptation of The Wiz.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was written by a very close friend of mine, Jeray Beard, and her sister Kelly Beard was the
Mm-hmm.
executive producer. So initially, I came on as one of the writers, to help develop the script, and I did the soundtrack with Bill Jolly.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
and so when we, initially when we were doing the play, I was also brought on to direct the play, and then we got oh God, which one of the Pace sisters? Oh man, I can't remember which one of the Pace sisters, but one of the Pace sisters came on, but she wasn't able to do the role that they had initially called her for. So
Mm-hmm.
they started like jumbling stuff around, and Bill ended up getting Stephanie Mills to come in and direct.
Right, right,
So
right, right,
when
right, right.
Stephanie Mills came in to direct, I got bumped to the role of Mrs. Blocker, which was the equivalent of Eveline.
Yes, yes, yes.
So We debuted at the Leah Chorus Center here in Philadelphia, and man, it was something special. Sarah Dash from LaBelle played my wicked mother-in-law, if you will. So that was a riot being on the stage with her.
Right.
But it was really interesting because I hadn't been on the stage in a while. I had pretty much resigned myself to the fact that the acting part of my life was over. So I was just pretty much doing producing, arranging, writing music, things of that nature. I had started doing a lot of contributions to the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. So mainly
Yeah.
I was happy being behind the scenes. And so that was my first time, really being back on the stage like that. And man, I tell you, it was amazing. The talent that we got to work with, Trina Farabee, Mark Britt. It was awesome. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned something really cool. I've read at least 7 of those series, Chicken Soup for the Soul. Those are some interesting, very, very enlightening books with the little passages that they have in there and the little
Yeah.
quotes that you can take every day. People see me and they like, you don't look like much of a reader, but I'm an avid reader. I read, but I don't have a category. When I hear you mention something or somebody mentions something, I'm like, oh yeah, I read a piece of that or I read a piece of that because I just
Yeah.
grab. Yeah, I do. I just grab bits and pieces of information that are interesting to me. But you've had a very lucrative, fascinating, multifaceted career just in entertainment and business. You're an entrepreneur. We're going to talk a little bit about that podcast in a minute and some very important subjects that I want to get to first before we get into that a little bit. And if you got a little time, we'll probably go over a little bit, but it's perfectly cool because we got so much and maybe we can do a part 2 because we got a lot to talk about. I know here we are hanging out with Nancy Marie. She's up in Philly Dilly, just chilling with us. Multifaceted entertainer, producer, arranger, writer, actor, actress, just all those good things rolled into one right here on Funk Music with Zack on IBM.TV. And you heard an exclusive where Luther Vandross got his thing from. You heard that? Never heard that nowhere else. You heard it here. So remember that when y'all are watching. Bless you, Luther. I love you. This house is not a home.
Yes.
Oh, Lord. Luther. Woo. Yeah. So anyway, that's a whole nother show. So there are a lot of things happening in the world. And when I was, checking out the podcast that you sent me, a lot of those subjects, they're pertaining to now. So we have to address the elephant in the room really fast. When the struggle, we continue. I know we have a like mind, you, yourself, myself, Kevin. We always talk about the same things. How we have to, as a Black community, really stop relying on someone to come save us and save ourselves.
That's right.
Having said that, when we finally got over this last hump on November 3rd, how was your reaction to it in lieu of this man still trying to hang on to something that he doesn't have? I want to hear your perspective as a Black woman on seeing the first woman of color take that office.
It's been really, I can't even find the proper words to describe what it's been like. Being a mother of 7, 4 boys and 3 girls, having had one son, already have a negative encounter with the police. And I'm gonna leave that right there because it was a very ugly situation. I really didn't have time to reflect and rejoice, the way that most people would, have, reacted to Camilla getting that office, only because there is, a bigger issue looming, the fact that, what if these white supremacists decide that, they want to start cutting the fool and, doing some of the things that, we're fearful that they might do, as far as, to get revenge. Because their person is no longer in office. So to honestly, the couple of days leading up to the election were not good days for me. It was really difficult for me to find my center.
Yes.
And, to kind of keep my focus, which I've been doing pretty good, throughout this pandemic. I've had some moments that weren't really good. And this whole election thing was really one of them, because again, mother of 4 boys, mother of 7, but, especially my sons, is like, you're fearful. And then 2 of my sons are in areas where something like that could really happen. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I really didn't have time to reflect and rejoice. And I'm not depending upon the White House to resolve the things that need to be resolved. It has to happen at a grassroots level, and it has to start with us. We can't be dependent on a savior.
Exactly.
Because the power is within us to save ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
And it has to start. It has to start where we are and grow out. We can't look up and say, okay, God, save us, save us, save us. We have to do the work. So that's more so what I'm about, right now, making sure that work gets done, making sure that I'm doing everything that's in my power to do to make sure that, my community gets better. Then maybe my city can get better. If I can get my community together, then maybe I can get my city together. Then maybe I can get the state together. And then maybe what we're doing in this state can, expand and reach other states and reach the nation and then reach other countries and reach the world. But it has to start from within. It can't, we can't be like, because there are conditions attached to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, exactly
and
right.
So if we're receiving from there, then there's always going to be some sort of condition attached. We have to be the masters of our own destiny and create the type of world that we want to be and the world that we want to live in. So
that's right. That's right. You made a very good point, because the whole year, of course, obviously with the lockdown, and I was just texting Kevin the other day, and as you know, we're very close. And I said, man, I'm having a hard day today, bro. I said, I just got to reach out, because being locked down and trying to make money and then not being able to perform, and just trying to understand the day-to-day minutia of this COVID, and dealing with this guy and the White House and everything else, and worrying, God, I hope Biden doesn't lose, because we'll be way into some deep stuff. So you're not alone and your feelings. There's so many of us that felt exactly how you so eloquently just put it. And to me, as we go forward or pivot, and as we pivot and turn and go forward, in this new direction, I want to say I'm optimistic. I keep the glass half full. I've always tried to be optimistic, but I still have come to even more realizations about how this country really is so jacked up. There was a case the other day that didn't even make the news. A boy got kidnapped in Louisiana, a young black boy. They found him in the ditch. You heard, right? Now, it wasn't on no national news. Why wasn't that?
Social media broke it.
That's right. Why wasn't that? Why wasn't that like a subject? That's a domestic terrorist racial targeted act, a criminal act.
But truth be told, if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't know about the things that we know about, the things that do make the news, because that's the only reason. I mean, this is nothing new. This has been going on for years. And the only reason why it's becoming so visible is because people have their cell phone cameras and people are posting on social media, and it can't be ignored any longer.
That's right. That's right. And the best part about it, like you said, there's always somebody now with a camera. And people are going to commit their heinous acts and do what they want anyway. But somebody's watching. Somebody is going to document that. And I just wanted your thoughts on that, because obviously, we're going to move forward with the country regardless. I know one thing about the Creator, Mother Earth, it just keeps on going, doesn't stop, no matter what we do.
Right.
Here we are today, man, with my beautiful guest, Nancy Marie, hanging out, chilling on IBM.TV, Funk Music with Zack, and we just chopping it up. So let me get into this podcast thing, because we were talking before we came on the air, and I'm very interested in that. But there was something about the N-word and entertainment and black women, and I'll save the N-word for a minute, but black empowered women in the entertainment business is not really being blown up like it should, or why. Yes, we got our Oprahs out there, and people like yourself, are doing great things. But why do you think women in general, and then black women or women of color especially, are not getting that push through? Is it from the men? Is it us? Or is it the system? What do you think it is?
It's systemic in nature.
Okay.
It's inbred. There's this whole thing, colorism plays a part. So the light skin versus the dark skin, and then the sexualization. So if you're not hypersexualized, and I learned this from my girls on the podcast, that episode, representation of women of color in media, they put it so eloquently. They said, if you're not hypersexualized, you're not going to get the play. You're not going to get the recognition. So it's almost like it's a requirement that if you're a black woman and you want to be taken seriously, if that makes any sense, to be taken seriously, exactly. You have to, be hypersexualized. The exoticization, you have to be exotic. You have to be this, that, the third. Instead of people looking at us and looking at our value and what we have to give, what we have to offer. And it's not just black men. It's not just men in general. The battle within, sisters against sisters, because there's a whole jealousy type thing going on, where the light skin are against the dark skin. And it's funny, my kids, I have the complexions of my children range from caramel to dark, my complexion. And there are always jokes between one of my sons and one of my daughters, about the whole dark skin, light skin thing. And it drives me crazy. I'm like, don't do that. And I'm like, Mom, we're just playing. I said, no, you don't understand. Don't do that, because it's such a real issue. Even when we're just, say we're just playing, it's an issue. Because somehow we think, if we're not light skinned, we're not beautiful. We don't have the long flowing hair. We're not beautiful, So it's a problem that was instituted, when Willie Lynch put his whole plan into place. And let's not even get started on that, but that was the whole thing, put the house nigga against the field nigga, put the light skin against the dark skin, pit the old against the young. And he made the statement, if we can get this plan going, we keep them in bondage for 400 years. And, here we are 400 years later, we're still going against each other. Our mentality about it is still jacked up. And why? Why? We're our biggest enemy. If we can't get it together with us, we have no ground to stand upon when we ask the other nations and the other races to treat us fairly.
That's right. And this is so cool, because these are subjects that I love to tackle here on IBM.TV, because we're speaking the truth, and these things need to be said. And I'll tell you a quick story how that definitely, what you just said, the high yellow versus the brown, the black. I was the kid that had the big feet, the nappy hair, and was the black kid, in school. I was the kid that didn't look like the Jackson 5. That's why I gravitated towards the Funkadelas, because they looked like me. I was the kid that didn't have good hair, and I was the kid that was made fun of from time to time because I was dark skinned. As I've gotten older, I've gotten lighter. But when I was a kid, I used to be really dark, and it was always the jokes amongst our own races about that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we are our worst enemy. And hopefully, little by little, we can start to change that with some of the kids that are out there today. I got two daughters, as you know, they're biracial, and, they understand both sides of the fence, but they understand they're black women first. They understand Black Lives Matter. They really now are old enough to see what daddy was trying to tell them years ago about being dark skinned, being brown skinned, being black in this country, and understanding how you got to break through every ceiling all the time, you know. And you made some very good points about that, because if I'm in a community and I'm trying to help you, you know, why are you trying to hurt me? I'm trying to help pull you up. But then at the same time, yeah, you're going to get even with me and then try to pull me back down. The crab's in the barrel. And I think hopefully economics and the new education of where we are will try to get us out of that. But I really look sometimes and I'm like, man, I don't even have answers for some of the things I see. I just rely on the creator to just guide us through it, you know. This podcast, though, I love it. What's the title of it? Tell people where they can get it. And Mark's going to put that on the banner for us, because I need people to know we're going to really get into this thing, because I love the subjects. I love them.
Yeah, the name of the podcast is Girl Truth, What Lens Are You Looking Through? The host site is anchor.fm, but it's available on Apple Podcasts. It's available on Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music now carries it. So it's available on any podcast platform that you use. You can get Girl Truth, What Lens Are You Looking Through? And it's an amazing podcast made up of teen girls between the ages of, well, they're a little older now. We're into our second season. So I believe our youngest participant is 15 and the oldest is 21. And they just talk about things that are important to them. I don't give them any of the content. They select the content. They choose the topics. I'm just there to guide them through this podcast. And they talk about things that make my head spin on a daily. Every time we're recording, I'm like, okay, I need to go back to school to deal with these girls, because some of the knowledge they drop, I'm just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Baina, she did an episode entitled "I Am Not a Terrorist." I'm talking about her experience of being a Muslim girl in Delaware County. And that particular episode actually came about. She was one of our participants in the Evlor House, which is the nonprofit organization that I work with. And that's how the podcast got birthed. But she was speaking at one of our graduations, and she actually, you know, revealed for the first time, even to her mom. Her mom didn't know that these were some of the things that she was feeling, you know, about being made to feel like she was a terrorist. And she was saying how our organization helped her to feel like she wasn't a terrorist. This was the first time that she felt like she could embrace herself and embrace who she was. And I mean, the whole audience was in tears listening to this young girl speak about her experiences of, you know, being young, being a Muslim, being afraid of what people were thinking about her, you know, hearing the whispers and, you know, just, you know, people coming against her because she wears her garb and she wears it proudly.
Right.
So that's how that episode was birthed. You know, I said, that's a story that you need to share worldwide. And so she did. And it, you know, it became one of our more popular episodes. But the podcast was birthed out of, we did an on the table Philly discussion with some of the girls that graduated from the program, asking them, what is it that we could do? You know, what is it that we weren't doing that we could do to better service them? And they told us straight up, look, you guys did everything that you were supposed to do. It's up to us to step up to the plate and do something. And so one of the things that they wanted to do, they said they wanted to do a podcast. So we had some volunteers, some powerful women in the room who said that they would help the girls to do the podcast. I don't have time to go into the whole trajectory of what happened, but when the rubber hit the road, these people were nowhere to be found. And so here I go, you know, being the empathetic person that I am, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to let these girls be disappointed.
Good for you.
And my director was like, yeah, you could do this. I was like, sure, I can do a video. I do video production. I can do, you know, no, you're going to do this podcast. Okay, I'm going to do the podcast. I knew nothing about podcasting. Absolutely nothing. But I was like, okay, here we go. So I started doing research, started doing this. I said, okay, we can get a little, some equipment. And, so initially we were going to raise funds to get the equipment. And then I started doing further research. I was like, okay, I don't even have the tech savvy to do all this. And at that very moment when I was about to say, no, I'm not doing this, I see on Instagram a very good friend of mine that I used to work with in another production company had just launched a podcast studio. And I was like, okay, guys, you can't be no more clearer than this. So let's go ahead. I called him, got the rates together, took those girls in the studio. And man, I tell you, I was, between laughing and crying at the things that they were discussing.
Yeah.
And, it's a joy to have that voice.
Yes.
But
yes.
It's also painful that they have to experience the things that they're experiencing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're too young to have to be worried about some of the things that you're talking about.
Right. The decisions. Yes.
Yeah. So we launched the podcast back in August 14th of 2019, which happens to be Janasia Dunmore's birthday. She's one of our hosts. So the podcast actually launched on her birthday. Right. And the next thing I know, Ghana. I was like, okay, the motherland is listening. Oh my God. And then I'm seeing like Russia, Albania, Indonesia, Japan. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I mean, places where the voice of a woman is not even recognized.
Yeah, suppressed. That's right.
And I'm like, okay, this work is bigger than anything that I could have ever imagined. And I take no credit. I was just the hand to guide these girls. They're doing the work. They're putting their voices out there, and their voices are traveling around the world. They are heard on 5 continents. I believe we're up to 29 countries now.
Wow.
It's been number one. It was the number one podcast in Indonesia, Albania, and then 12 of the episodes charted in the top 10, across the world. So they're doing the doggone thing, and
that's amazing.
I'm so proud of them.
That's amazing. Technology has definitely given us pathways to a lot of light. Yes, there's the dark side of it, but man, oh man, when I hear a story like that, and again, we're hanging out with Nancy Marie, IBM.TV on Funk Music with Zack this Sunday. Y'all check us out. When I hear a story like that, it really, really warms my heart and gives me goose pimples, because I'm thinking the idea became the hands-on, became the ripple that went around the world. And when that can happen, that's nothing but the creator saying, I got the people in the light. I'm going to use them. Y'all want to stay in the dark, fine. But my light workers, and I call us the light workers, the creator has us down here for a reason to do things. You never know who's listed. I tell people that all the time. People ask me how many, somebody asked me how many listeners. I said, I never look and see how many. I have no idea. I don't know if one person's listening or 1,000. I don't even care. I do know people are checking it out, but that's not my concern. My concern is to bring your information out to them, beautiful people and spirits like yourself, to share these wonderful stories, because that's changing lives in a big way, in a big way, in a major way, taking young ladies and giving them a voice where they've never had one before, and it's time. I don't understand the whole chauvinistic thing. I was raised by a strong woman until she died, so I never, and my dad was always around, and I seen them work together. So I never understood that. But I do know the concept behind it, control. So tell me, we were talking, we were texting, but I had looked over some things, and I was like, okay, we're going to talk about this and that. And I saw something that was really very important to you and to me, is like the use of the N-word, in our society, in jokes, and, people telling comedians and the music. But I want to focus on the music, because I never put that in my music ever. I never seen a word. I could use a substitute if I had to, but how do you feel, or not how do you feel, but how do you suppose we can get people to understand the damage that does in everyday music that we have to hear all over the place?
Zach, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because people are so set, you know, and everybody has their opinions,
Right.
about the word. Like all we can do is plant seeds
Mm-hmm.
and hope that the seed will take root. Sometimes, it may just be a matter of expressing how damaging that word can be.
Right.
And
Yes.
then, it's not to get into a debate. It's just about, planting that seed. When you're planting a garden, you don't go and, plant the seed and then tear up the ground and, try to position it to make sure that, okay, I got to do this, and do this and make sure it grows, right? It's not about that. You dig the hole, you put the seed in, you cover it, and you walk away.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even your responsibility to water that seed. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Sometimes
Yep.
that's somebody else. There's a scripture that says, one plants, the other waters, and God gives the increase.
Yes.
Sometimes you just have to be willing to say what needs to be said and know when it's time to walk away and just let it sit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when it sits and we let it sit long enough and we don't try to coerce and manipulate, because sometimes that's where we mess up, because we think that we have to control the outcome. The outcome's not up to us.
Right. Right. Exactly.
All we can do is what we're called to do. So plant that seed, pray that it grows, but keep it moving. Because if this person doesn't receive it, you can't stay focused on this person here, because you know what? The one that you intended to reach may be 10 people down.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're still focused over here, you'll never get to the person that you were intended to reach. So keep it moving. That's all we can do.
And it is so it's such a dichotomy of opinions about the N-word, how to use it, free speech, not free speech, this and that. And I listen to a lot of hip hop, tons of hip hop, Tupac, Eminem. I listen to all of the hip hop artists because I love to hear their stories. I don't listen to the garbage about defaming women. I don't listen to about the killing, but I do like to understand that type of expression that a lot of these young brothers and sisters was putting down. MC Light, I love, people like that, because their stories are our stories, just from a different generation. And as an elder, I had to learn to embrace that. Even in my 30s, I had to embrace that because it was here to stay. When Quincy Jones put Back on the Block on his album, that's when we all said as musicians, oh, rap is here to stay. And even he said it. He said, rap is here to stay. It ain't going nowhere, And then I listened to the story, with Ice-T. And I was like, wow, they're living in some really tough times out there. Now, I'm still in the same place, the United States of America, but I'm on Long Island, living all bougie in the community, neighborhood, school, this and that. And these brothers are getting shot and killed for their sneakers. I said, there's a whole different level of stuff that's going on. And it wasn't making the news because social media wasn't out, but they was putting it on those records. And as young black men, when PE first came out and everybody was so down on PE, I was like, yo, they telling the story of Brooklyn. They're telling the story of Queens. They're telling the story of the boroughs. They're putting that music out. I said, if you listen to their lyrics, yes, they're talking about a lot of crazy stuff. But if you really dig down deep to what, your fellow musicians from Queens was saying, Run D and them, it was like they're telling that story. You know what I'm saying? Public Enemy, one of my favorite rap bands, way ahead of their time, was telling their story about, okay, we got to have a black thing. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to organize, don't get all crazy. And I never bought the theory that the rap music made people act all crazy. It might influence some weak-minded, but the majority, no. I always said, listen, this information that these young brothers and sisters are putting out there is just different from us. If I'm listening to Funkadelic, that was what I was listening to. George was singing about Knee Deep, One Nation Under a Groove, getting down for the funk of it. If you look at that photo of that album, right, that photo is the same photo that Huey P. Newton had with the red, black, and green flag, with him sitting in the chair. So George was saying, listen, I don't care how you get it, just get it. So it was the same thing to me. And I've always kind of fought that battle with a lot of people that just automatically condone. I was like, no, you got to understand it before you try to condone it. Just listen to what they're saying. And they're like, oh, I can't understand that garble and that garbage, this and that. I said, because you ain't trying to hear it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't trying to hear what they say. Here we are kicking it with Nancy Marie. I'm hanging out. You know, it's just a good conversation. We're chilling on Funk Music with Zack. Don't forget to check out our sponsors. They're going to be on a little bit later. And we got Lynn Shepherd with the Dollar Store and all that good stuff. You can find Nancy Marie all over social media. So you're entertaining, you're acting, you're producing, you're directing. We hopefully have this queued up. And I know my man Mark behind the glass. Mark Lee, I want to thank you, brother. You're awesome back there. You make it really, really work for me. I know the inside joke, see, but we ain't going there. Mark, I love you. Hopefully we got this video queued up right. You in there, Mark? You in there? Mark is my man. I love Mark Lee. You in there, right? I love him. See, now we got an inside joke. Only you and I know, right? I love you, Mark. You're my man. We're going to try to kill one of these videos. Tell us before we queue it up. You were working on this project, KHX. You guys were doing this for a minute. And tell us about your production. And I'll tell you guys a little secret in a minute, but not just yet. But tell us about your production as far as your mindset when you were directing and putting these videos together.
As far as the videos are concerned?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I'm always about trying to tell a story. So, you know, usually when I'm producing or something, I'm trying to enhance what is being said vocally or instrumentally. I want to be able to bring that visual level to it and just really, you know, enhance what has already been recorded. So I'm usually, you know, sitting here visualizing, thinking of, you know, what would this look like? If this were a picture, what would it look like to me? So usually that's my approach.
Okay. So we got this one called Do You Remember? Do you remember? Now that's the one with the lady in the car. I believe she was sitting there, right? Is that the? Oh no, that's the one that started out with the street signs, I think.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't do that video. Mr. Kevin did that video all by himself. Kevin did that.
Okay, well, we're gonna run that for me, Mark. He did that. Well, good kudos to Kevin.
That was Kevin. He did that all by himself.
Well, he did a good job.
Yeah.
He did a good job. And we give him props. Hopefully he's in the basement working on the nappy music. I love this show.
Yeah. It makes me want to go home.
I remember
back in the day.
I remember those days on 157. Everything was routine. The presents were spitting. Shell top Adidas, Chris Angles, riding bits early on, watching, clocking. Show stop that.
That's Kevin's brother.
Yeah, it looks like him.
Things around my way.
That's my daughter.
Reebok classics, bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair. My dude holla to make that, so let me take you there. Do you remember? Do you remember? Those times were all so fun. Those days were all so good.
Get up to God Brew right now. We need to catch this band right now.
God
Brewer, yeah.
Dollar, then we on the island now. Shorty's feeling good, feeling so proud. As we walk Jamaica Ave. Yeah. Margaritas, we gon' catch the slide. On our way to Jamaica.
That was the
dream about what we can have. Jamaica High was a stomping ground. Hillcrest is where we laid it down. Cause we marched around like we was on the prowl. Yeah. We catch a shorty, take him to the Coliseum, post him up so the dudes see him, and take him back around the way. Yeah, yeah. Ooh. Do you remember? Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, those times were all so fun. Oh, those days were all so good.
Weston.
Yes.
Love me some Weston.
Yo, son. Yo, we about to take this right now. Watch this straight right here, son. Let me drop.
Back on the block now. House party posting up, grab your short now. Turn it up like you know we do. Run MCs in the background, cause it's true. Representing Queens always to the fullest. LL Fat Boys, yes they do this. All my ladies out here looking so tight. All my dudes rocking ballads looking so right. Everybody here trying to have fun. No drama, no shooting, just having fun. Cause back in the days when I was coming up, if you had a problem with a dude, you just put him up. Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember?
Knock away, wow.
The days again are good. Oh, yeah, yeah. Those times were all so fun. Do you remember? Yeah. Oh.
For my 154 Street fans. All day, son.
Yo, that's incredible, and I wasn't aware that Kevin had done that by himself, but that's incredible. Just looking at some of those things, man, I flipped when I watched the first time. But Wetson's always better than McDonald's.
Right.
To me. It was always
15
better than Mickey D's.
15 cent burger though. 15 cents.
Yep. Because Wetson's, we had one on Long Island, and McDonald's bought them out and made it McDonald's, but it was originally Wetson's. Yes, Wetson's was on Long Island way before McDonald's ever came about.
Yep.
So Mark, we're gonna run that second one. I think this is the one that you produced as well. I'm not sure, but when you're creating all this great stuff, and the surprise I was going to tell you is, Nancy Marie has agreed to work on a Nappy Head Funk Army video or two. So I just want to let y'all know that. So it's in good hands. When we get that funding in, we're going to make that happen. Did you work on All We Need Is Love?
I actually did.
Okay, that's the one we're going to run now. And that one is so beautifully done. And Mark, we're going to run that real fast. Don't worry, we're up against the clock, but we got plenty of time. We're going to just let it run over. Tell us a little bit about that and set it up for us before we run it.
Okay, so All We Need Is Love was a song that Kevin and I wrote together. Mm-hmm. And initially, he was going to give it to Queen Esther Morrow, but that didn't work out. So I actually ended up doing the vocals on it. So he decided to use it for the project. Most of the footage that you'll see in the video was actually captured when I participated in the March for Our Lives event in Los Angeles back in, that was 2018, mm-hmm. Which was just such a powerful experience, being in LA, doing the march, and the wonderful people that I met. So a lot of that footage does appear in the video, but again, the video, I try to like have it tell the story. And so basically it's just a story of, what's going on in the world and what we need to fix it.
So you were out there and you had that inspiration, then you had to, you were shooting stuff out there, and then you were able to blend it with the creative juices that was flowing on this side of the continent. And I thought, when I looked at it several times, late at night, I usually do all my stuff late at night. So I tell everyone, please forgive me if you send me something. I'm a night owl. I'll be looking at it at 2, 3 in the morning. That's when you'll get my response, because that's my clarity time. I've always been like that. From 8 at night to 3 in the morning is my clarity time. And I was watching, and I was like, wow, like your vision and how you made things work and pieced it all together is second to none. And I was like, you really grabbed it with the title, All We Need Is Love. And it's so, even though you shot some of that before, where we are now, it's so relevant. Do you feel that way, that it's like sitting right here right now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, it's a timeless tune, really.
Yes.
Because it seems like, no matter what we're in, no matter what we're going through, if we could just get to the heart of love. And love ourselves. If we really learn to love ourselves, it would be so easy to love others.
Yes,
if we could, embracing those parts of ourselves that we loathe, the things about ourselves that we feel down about, it's a part of you. It's a part of the tapestry and the fabric of your life. It contributed to you becoming who you are today. So instead of loathing, instead of, regretting that you had the experience, man, if we could just embrace that stuff and love on it and love on the person that it made us, that it would be so much easier to be able to embrace other people in what we call their foolishness, in their weakness, in their whatever. It would just be so much easier. So
That's right. Their low self-esteem is not our issue. It's within us. Like you said, the power is within us. Boosie just came out with the power to one. It's like it's in us. And that love thing is a theme that all of us light workers are actually, crushing on and making it happen. Thank you, Mark, the man behind the glass. I love you, Mr. Mark Lee. You the man back there, man. Straight up. All We Need Is Love. Here we are, written and shot by Nancy Marie. And vocals. Wow, that's deep.
Oh my, this world is crazy. Day by day, dear Lord, I pray. I look to you for an answer. Does the world need now? Do we fight hatred with hatred? How do we unite the races and rise above? All we need is love, 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 love. All we need is love, love, love. Let's bring life. We sing a love life. All we need is love, love, love. Patient and kind, love soothes the heart, brings peace to the troubled mind. Love is the answer that I give you. Love is the cure No matter what you're going through, police brutality, racism, bigotry, brothers killing brothers, we're turning on each other. Ain't no mountain high enough. We can rise above. All we need is love, 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 love. All we need is love, 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 we can rise above. We can rise above. We can rise above. We can rise above. All we need is love, 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 all we need is love, 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 love.
I never saw the very end of that. I love it. Oh my God, that's so cool. Let me tell you, I gotta talk about that because I was tearing up with emotion of happiness. But that is an amazing song you wrote, song you sang, song you shot, and video y'all did. I'm telling you that you had your hand on top of that. You know, just that phrase alone right there pretty much sums up what the light workers down here trying to do. You saw me laugh because the one when you had the footage of the kid in the background, but then the one kid that photobombed, totally me. Totally me. That's why I had to give him props because he was like, "Hey, I'm not in this. I'm getting in." I loved it. Loved it. And that's what love is. That that reached out to me personally, but everybody that's watching. And this is Nancy Marie hanging out with us on IBM.TV, Funk Music with Zack. We definitely got to do a part 2. We've only touched on part 1 today, but I definitely, would love to have you back sometime in December.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah, because I'm all, we got some dates for November already taken, but I'd love to have you come back because there's so much to talk about and so much to share. You share your gift with so many people around the world, have shared, will share, continue to share, right? And because you have your hands in so many different ways with the technology now, I kind of am so happy for you because a lot of people didn't make that leap, unfortunately. When it was there for us, some of us had to embrace technology. But as we get older, some of us shy away from it. But this is the new communication, the new news, the new form of information sharing. And videos are so powerful. they really do, or they really are necessary evil in the business now. You know what I'm saying? You have to have that visual thing, and your concept of all we need is love in the song, and the way you brought the West Coast and the East Coast and created it in your mind, your mind's eye. That's a skill that very few people have. You are so insanely talented. Let me tell you something. You really are.
Thank
You
you.
just told you guys, y'all are a great team. Ashford Simpson, whatever you want to call it. Boosie and Patty is Kevin and Nancy Marie. Those are my Mount Rushmores. All right, that's how I roll. So y'all are on there and have been, and this is the first time we actually got together to sit down and chat and really kick it, So it's beautiful. And if you had to offer some advice to some young people that really want to get into this business and do what you do, what would you tell them as far as the pitfalls that they're going to have to try to work around?
I would try to steer them away from the concept that you have to be mainstream to be successful, because that's the thing that really tripped me up for a long time. I used to get really agitated because I would see people that I went to high school with, just out there, and I'm like, well, why not me? And the thing is like, okay, you have the same power within you, and you don't have to go through that route. That's not the only option available, but you have to question yourself and be true to yourself and find out, are you in it for the art, or are you in it because you want to be a star? And it's that takes you on two different trajectories.
Yeah,
if you're in it for the art, then you'll do it however you need to do it, wherever you need to do it. You'll find a way to get it done. And when that light bulb went on for me, that's when my life just changed dramatically.
Yes.
And I was able to really, the floodgates just opened. I always tell people when I'm talking with them that, it feels like to me that I've lived like 10 different lifetimes in this single lifetime, with the amount of things that I was able to accomplish. In this short period of time on earth. Honestly, if I were to pass away tomorrow, and I pray not, but if I were, I think that I've done a significant amount of meaningful work.
Hell yeah.
And that I'm not just going to leave a monument, I'm going to leave a legacy. And there's a big difference. A lot of people live for the monument. They want the monument constructed in their memory, so when they're gone, everybody can go and stand before this object and remember what they did. But what we have to remember is monuments are made of stone. They have no life. But if you live your life in such a way that you can leave a legacy, man, even after you're gone, you're still going to be here because you left something that's living. You left something that's viable. You've left something that somebody else can pick up and carry another mile along the way. So, I want to live my life in such a way that I leave that legacy. I don't want the monument. The monuments mean nothing because they're made of stone and they can be destroyed.
That's right. And you making your legacy. Let me tell you, Dollar Bill, how you doing, man? This is another producer of ours, Bill Tresvant. He's got his mic mute and everything, but we do a roundtable after my show goes off, and we're going to end my show and jump back in. And Nancy, you're welcome to stay. Again, my special guest today, part one of her interview, Nancy Marie, amazing producer, entertainer, actress, activist, podcast mom, just doing all these great things with these great young ladies, and working in the music background on the Cage experiment, and just, being this all around humongous, tremendous energy force. And I like to call all my light workers energy forces, regardless of being an Afro-American woman being held down, still you rise. And for that, I am grateful. I am proud to say that you're my sister in the funk world, and continue, please, doing all the great things that you're doing. I can't wait to see you in person so we can get started with the nappy head stuff, because I am so excited about that. And you brought up Yes, it's could be a lot of fun. You said something that was really cool, and I want people to remember and listen to what Nancy was telling you. There are different paths to get to your goal. Everybody's not going to walk the same path, and for that, I'm going to leave you with that. Follow your path, stay in your lane. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. Mark, I know you're going to cue the end of the show, my man, Mark Lee, the man behind the glass, and you're going to bring us back. Nancy, please hang out with us. We do a little after-hour chat right here, and it still goes out live. I'd love you to meet some of the producers that may pop on. They obviously need to meet you. And again, Nancy Marie, a fabulous guest. Y'all put your heads together for her out there. I know you guys are watching. It goes to India, Dubai, England, wherever you guys are at. Just know that there are people like this woman out there making things happen. And again, my theme this month, every month I try to have a theme lately, but my theme this month was empowering the women that are empowered, empowering women. And I made sure social media knew this month I'm really focused in honor of Carmela on women doing great things. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I think every couple of months, I'm just going to have a month where, bang, I just knock you ladies out of the park because you guys deserve it. There's no more powerful person on the planet than a woman. You know what I mean? Because you guys are the life givers. You nurture and you keep us safe. When we're hurt, we come to Our Lady, or whatever relationship you may be in, whatever. But it's a powerful thing. They call it Mother Earth for a reason. And I just want you to know that you're part of the change. So thank you. Mark, cue us up, baby. Take us home.
Well, I'm gonna pop on in here and everything. I've got a couple of things that I'm going to run in terms of some of our great shows that air here and everything, and then of course we'll come back in with conversation. But definitely, you had an amazing guest, Nancy. I had never met you before, but I found you to be very enlightening and very wonderful. So I was glad to meet you and everything, and to learn more about your great music.
Mark, what happened to TC Fly at the top? TC Fly, the theme.
We're going to come back with that. That hadn't ended everything
Fly?
yet.
Okay, yes, because that's something that I make sure they're sponsoring me, John and Kevin. So I got to make sure I get their music.
We got you.
I have to have sponsors.
That's actually the first thing that's going to come back too. So hold on one second.
Dollar Bill. Bill is a Buffalo Bills fan. We'll get it right next week, but that's not TC Fly. No.
Hold on a second.
That's not the thing. That's not it.
Speaking of sponsors, hold on.
Hi, my name is Lynn Shepard. Our family owns an online dollar store, family.dollarstore.com. We have over 4,300 items on our site, quality items, and a lot less expensive than you might find wherever you're shopping, including on Amazon. We deliver for free if you spend $25 or more. And we also have a gift token program. Now, gift tokens are just like gift cards that you would get to shop at CVS, Target, Macy's, or a lot of other stores. And when you sign up to become a customer, you immediately get $5 worth of gift tokens to be able to use before you even make your very first purchase. So we encourage you to sign up to become a customer. We are here because we are supporting a not-for-profit, Money Masters PBS. Money Masters PBS owns IBM TV. Now, the mission of Money Masters PBS is to narrow the gap between poverty and financial sustainability.
That's what's up. Thank you, Mark. Boom. That song is off the KHS Experiment. Mr. Kevin Harrington, John Willis, Groovalicious.
We
His
got to
son
talk
Kyle
about
wrote
and
that.
all of that. So one of the
Yes.
things I've got to ask Bill is what's going on in the political front, because Bill is our master political guy. You may not know that, Nancy, but he's our master political guy. So I need to know what's going on in the political front. So if you'll share that with us, Bill, and then we'll get into some other conversation, because we got this president that doesn't seem to want to leave office. He seems to be trying to be stuck there.
Yeah. So, we've got baby Huey in the White House, and, we got Uncle Joe getting ready to come in and help straighten things out. Look, it's all chaos right now. We've got, just here in D.C. yesterday, they had the Million MAGA March, where they had all these people, Trump supporters, drive up from the South in their trucks and their rigs and their motorcycles. And, predominantly white, nothing wrong with that, with the Trump signs. And they came into downtown D.C., which is predominantly black. And then they thought it'd be okay. But no, I don't know what you thought. Like me going to Harlem and that not without an escort, just messing. That's a bit of a joke. No, nobody. Okay, fine. Point is that, so they all showed up, and then Trump did a victory tour. He came out of the White House, and literally, this is how funny it was. If you live in your neighborhood and maybe your neighbor lives 4 blocks away from you, okay? Trump, whenever he travels, the president always travels with a motorcade, and that consists of about 28 vehicles. Because you got the motorcycle policemen, the motorcycle or the police squad cars. Then you have the Secret Service advanced agents, the Secret Service SUVs. Then you have 2 bulletproof limousines in case one gets damaged and the president can jump in the other one. You've got security behind that. You've got the press. You've got the ambulances. I mean, it's a big, long thing. Where all the protesters gathered, it was literally a half a block from the White House. And President Trump got in a motorcade and, came out of the White House just so he could go around the block where these people were protesting. Literally, no, hang on. This is literally how funny it was. The tail end of the motorcade was still coming out of the front gate at the White House, while the front part of the motorcade was just entering where the protesters were. It was like this big old snake. And then they went around the block. And, everybody got riled up, but then, unfortunately, it went into the evening. Most of the time it was peaceful, but then, unfortunately, last evening, there were about 20 arrests and then a couple of stabbings based on confrontations. But it's just chaos. It really is at the end of the day. However, here's the good news. The good news is we have less than 62 days. 62 days, and then you'll see a substantial change.
That is a great thing. Nancy, what's the reaction been in the Philadelphia area?
It is so much. I mean, the reaction has been, happy, jubilant. There's been dancing in the streets, but, we're still also reeling from the murder of Walter Williams, that young man who the cops shot in cold blood a couple of weeks back. So that kind of is the focus right now, because there have been a lot of protests over that shooting. As if Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd were not enough. Now, we're dealing with this as well. My area where I live in, which is kind of on the outskirts of the city proper, by City Avenue, right across the line from Delaware County. The first time the riots broke out, everything in my area was destroyed. And, here we are in, the month of November, and the same thing. They just came in and tore everything up. So, we're dealing with that. So whereas in Center City, people are rejoicing, they're jubilant, there's been some tense areas, of course, because, Trump sent his boys in to, check the ballots, if you will, or whatever. So there've been some standoffs. The National Guard is still here. It's crazy. Luckily, I don't have to go in that area of the city. I've been working from home since this whole thing started, since the pandemic started. So I don't need to go in that area. Maybe I think I've been to the office 3 times since the whole thing started. So I'm missing a lot of the drama that's, taking place in Center City. But
Well, because Nancy, I was going to add this one thing, and that is this: is that notwithstanding all of these provocations by whether it's the Proud Boys, the 5%ers, the 2%ers, the I don't knowers, whatever's, we're going to have the last say so in Georgia with the 2 Senate races. And we've already, Stacey Abrams has already proven that when we show up and vote, things change. And now, and there are a couple of things politically going on. One of the reasons why the Republicans are trying to go out of their way and bend over backwards and be nice to Trump with all of his shenanigans is because they need him to campaign in Georgia to turn out his base. But Trump is of the opinion that because Georgia didn't vote for him, because you know how he is, he's as he's demonstrated to us over time,
Spiteful.
He's just petty and spiteful like that. And so he's been arguing with guys, and they're like, well, because you'll help us save the Senate. And he's like, well, I don't care because I'm not going to be president, so what do I care about the Senate? Because his idea is to tear everything down. However, when we show up in Georgia on January 5th, we will hand the Senate over to Biden. And then we'll be done with this.
Sounds like we need to be done with that and everything. Y'all talking about some of the things that are going on in the community. Actually,
I was just going to say something, but I'll let you go. I'll go after you. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, actually, we just had an incident here in Durham yesterday. You're talking about different things that are going on. There was actually a sheriff that was actually shot here in Durham yesterday. I know I was working on a couple of events, and they actually had to do some shuffling around in their schedule because the person that they were going to have speak was going to be the sheriff. But the sheriff, of course, got occupied in the shooting. I believe it was a drive-by shooting where the sheriff was off duty and was shot while he was off duty and all of that. So that's still going on. That just happened here in Durham, North Carolina yesterday. And I know there have been some other incidents as well. So definitely we're still dealing with this black on black crime and a lot of other kind of gun crime that is going on in our community. So we've definitely got to deal with, as Zack likes to put it, the elephant in the room and some of the things that are going on. So we've got to address some of the things that are going on, whether it's gun violence, whether it's us attacking ourselves and things of that nature. So I'd love to hear all of y'all's comments on that. And Zack, you might have a point to make as well.
Yeah, I was just going to add something because there's this rumor going around January 3rd. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but keep this date in mind. January 3rd. And I just got this from Duke College students yesterday. And it's all over their young people's social media that day, January 3rd, there was supposed to be an uprising of racial unrest. And it's supposedly going to be started by these racist terrorists, these po' boys and all this other stuff, the Klan. They're picking that day for whatever reason to try to wreak chaos and havoc. So if you see something happening that day, you'll know that we broke it here first on IBM TV, because that's the rumor that's going around. Thank you, Kevin. That's the rumor that's going around in the street right now. January 3rd is going to be a day supposedly where the Aryan races, the Ku Klux Klan, the po' boys, they're all going to come out and start this whole crazy thing again, like try to start a civil war. Now, I know they're not going to be successful, but just the fact that they captured this young black boy down in Louisiana and it was on social media and nobody talked about it other than us, and just the fact that these things are starting to happen in isolated pockets, I really fear not so much for the major cities. I fear for the urban country areas where you can be walking down the street, somebody can snatch you up, and that's it. And they'll, so Bill, and I'm gonna pose this question to you because you're the Washington insider, and Nancy as well as Mark. Your thoughts definitely are welcome. But why do you think, and not the why because the racism, systemic racism, but why do you think this man and his body and spirit will not come out and denounce that before he leaves office, just to make his own people safe? Because if they start this crazy attack thing and they're going to go up against our own military and start this crazy thing, they're going to come out on the losing end. I mean, we got things that can pinpoint, craters on Mars. There's no way our government is going to stand by and let a civil war happen.
Well, I mean, I think it's a couple. I mean, I'll answer for the other outside of the other obvious reasons, the ones you asked me to discard, and I'll just assume that as part of the answer. But you then have to look at how he was raised. He was raised entitled, upper middle class, and most significantly, you have to kind of just look at his past example. His 5 deferments from get out of Vietnam under questionable deferments from his doctor. One said his foot had, a problem, a bone spur, other things. Each time he had a different thing. And yet, when he ran on, hey, I support the military. He hugs the military, hugs the flag. And then turns around and he disparages John McCain, and then disparages anything that actually fought in war as suckers and losers. Now, if you take that same mindset towards the military that provides the very freedom that this country enjoys, and then you turn around and he's looking at losing his position as president of the United States, what does he care? He's going to go off to Mar-a-Lago or some other place, and so what if everybody else fights in the streets? Because the way he sees them is not that far off from how he sees those people that went and served in the military as suckers and losers. So it really doesn't matter to him if a couple of them get hurt, or if they're his figures. He's just going to say a whole bunch of stuff, get everybody riled up, because then that'll keep the attention on him for whatever other venture he's going on to. And there have been reports that he's talking about, well, 2 things. One, apparently there is a divorce occurring between Fox News and Trump, and principally because Trump's going to be out of office and Fox News no longer, cares because he's just going to be a private citizen. So they're no longer towing his line all the way through. And so he has privately been complaining that he felt betrayed by Fox News, and that he was going to go out and form his own media empire with the sole purpose of destroying Fox News. Now, if you take that at face value, he gets all these people riled up in his final days and says, go out there and get them, keep the peace, those left-wing, blah, blah, blah. All he's doing is he's setting up his made-for-TV audience, so then when he opens up Trump Network, because who are they going to tune into? They're going to tune into the one guy that is, has been espousing it and saying it and everything else. And on top of that, he's just not a very good loser. And it was funny because it was an interview with his niece, the one who came out and did the book. She's been back out on the circuit and stuff because people are still, for the life of me, I don't know. I don't understand why people are still trying to understand him. I spent 3.5 years. We had to listen to him. Now I don't care. It's 63 days. But she said, he's not. She said, everybody keeps saying that he's not used to losing. And she's like, that's complete crap. She said, he lost his first wife. He lost his second wife. He lost the Trump Plaza Hotel. He lost all of his casino. He lost his airline industry. He lost his father's business. He lost everything. He's a loser. He is used to losing. So this is no surprise. So I just find it interesting. But I think that's where it comes from. He was thinking that the people that he's supposedly inspiring, the ones that are supporting him, he just sees them as cannon fodder as he moves on to try to do other things so that he can raise money, because he's got a lot of money, and then he's got a lot of legal problems coming up after the election. And that's all without even stating the obvious, that he's a racist. Sorry, Zach.
Oh.
Mark.
No, you're good and everything.
Hey,
one of the things I was curious about
was
I've heard folks speculating that he's going to do the Bill, the Grover Cleveland, and that he's thinking about which coming back and running again in 2024. So that's already scaring me enough. But is there any possibility of that? And what do you think of that? Because we've only had one president ever in history that won an election, lost an election, came back and won an election. I don't think that if he comes back, he would win, but we've only had one that's even tried it. So what are you hearing in Washington?
No, actually, we've had 2 that tried it. So we had Grover Cleveland, and he was successful, but that was principally because he was a compromise candidate, and things were very, very different, in the late 1800s, 1890s and such. But the other president that did it, that attempted it, was Theodore Roosevelt. Remember, he was sworn in after the assassination of McKinley, got elected on his own right. He could have run for a 3rd term, but instead put in Howard Taft, and then came back because he was disappointed with Taft and ran against Taft with a 3rd party, Bull Moose, and almost made it. But listen, Trump, there are 2 things with that. First, everybody's saying it, and I think the Republicans are saying it because they want to convince this man to leave the White House peacefully. Because They're there, you'll have another shot at it, we'll all be behind you, we'll all be behind you. But, you know, just like anything else, particularly here in Washington, D.C., it's really a what have you done for me lately town. And being out of political office and being out, you know, without authority or anything for even a month, people forget you. They will drop you like a hot potato or a hot lava rock or whatever it is. And so I think that now they're saying it's making them feel good in an attempt for them to save their lives because they really can't do anything. They've got to save Georgia, win those 2 seats in Georgia so they can save the Senate for the Republicans. And they can't do it without Trump's help. So now they're being all nice and everything else to him, but they know come January 20th, they have to deal with Biden. And you don't think that they're going to immediately change their tune once Trump is gone. That's one thing. Now, Trump can be saying that so he can then turn around, to set it up for this. So it's 2020, near 2024. The election will probably start in 2022, just after the midterms election. People start running again. Generally, it's a 2-year, 24-month cycle. And so, you know, he'll start again. But when nobody shows up for him, all the established Republicans, because they've made their own way, what's he going to do? He's going to say, the Republicans have abandoned me. And
Yeah, hey, by the way, I just had a great idea and everything. It's an amazing idea that I just came up with. But Bill, I know that you are helping definitely the power network here that we've got and everything, as well as our leadership in terms of finding new shows. We've just learned about a tremendous podcast that involves kids and everything. So I think that we need to talk to Nancy about the possibility of bringing that into the IBM TV family as well, because she's got these powerful youths that are sharing all kinds of stories and all kinds of amazing stories. So we might have to see about bringing it into this network as well. Bill didn't hear all of the shows, so could you share a little bit about the stories that you've heard and how your kids are dealing with the political front and what they're talking about, the political race that happened, what they think of Trump and all that. So I'd love to hear you, Nancy, and your thoughts on that and what the kids are telling you.
I could direct you to the podcast better than I can tell you. These girls are absolutely amazing. They're all graduates of a nonprofit organization that I am on the board for, called the Evalor House. Evalor House is a nonprofit organization. We do work with teen girls in the Philadelphia area, but since the pandemic, this was the first time that we were actually able to take our programming nationwide because we took it to a virtual platform. So it was, even though the pandemic kind of knocked us out of Pierce College, it was a blessing because now we were able to reach girls across the country. The podcast was actually born out of a On the Table Philly discussion that we had with some of our graduates. And we asked the girls during this discussion, what were some of the things that the Evalor House wasn't doing that we could do? And they said that the Evalor House did everything that we were supposed to do, and it was time for them to step up to the plate. And they began to, talk about ideas and things that they wanted to do to help their community. The podcast was one of those things. So it actually debuted in August of 2019. We are now in our second season. Of course, we're no longer in the studio because we had to move to the virtual platform. So we've been recording season 2 virtually via the Anchor app. But the topics these young ladies talk about, some of the episodes are representation of women of color in the media, the use of the N-word in music, political activism, social unrest. They did a Blacks Against Black Lives Matter movement, which was mind-boggling. Oh my God. And they do all the content. I'm just there to guide them and lead them. As a matter of fact, one of the hosts from season 1 expressed the desire to get behind the scenes and do more of the production work. So I'm currently grooming her so that she'll take over all of the producer activities, and I'll more so act as an executive producer so that the whole entire podcast will be in their hands. But when I tell you, we have 15-year-olds talking about social Darwinism and, making me feel like I need to go back to school.
Yeah, that's deep.
So I'm like, wait, what is that? But they really shed a light on the fact that, because a lot of what we see, if we depend on media to judge where our youth are, then what we see is disappointing and disheartening. But when I tell you these girls they're intelligent, they're well spoken, they know about things that not only educate people in their age range, but I mean, I learned something new every episode they record. I learned something new. When they recorded the episode Stress and How to Manage It, one of our young ladies, Layla, had brought up the point that parents always will tell kids that their stress is not real stress. You're not paying bills, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And she said parents need to understand though that stress is stress, and it real I mean, I like had to put the church finger up and tip away because I'm so guilty of that. My daughter will tell me how stressed out she is at 17, 18 years old. Like, oh, that ain't real stress. But yeah, to her at her level, it is stress.
Yeah,
So
it is. Yeah.
they challenge me to grow. They challenge me to look through a different lens, because that's the title, Girl Truth. What lens are you looking through? Because sometimes our lens is out of focus on certain things. We have to, be willing to look through another lens, and that's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we come together as community, by listening to one another and hearing, listening to hear and understand what's being said.
Yeah, that's nothing. They got some really amazing stories. I can't wait to start listening to those podcasts. As y'all know, I do several shows here on the IBM TV network, but then I also do my regular podcast that I was telling you, Nancy, which is actually where I started on Blog Talk Radio in the sense of podcasting. I've done radio since I was a teenager and everything.
Hardest working man in show business.
Yeah, Mr. Show Business. That's me, Mr. Show Business.
Hardest working man.
Yeah.
But speaking of that and everything, and one of our leadership team did want us to reflect on something that is going on in the community, and that is the fact that here in this area, we did have those floods that were happening this past week. So she wanted us to reflect on that because there were some folks that lost their lives in that. And we know that one of our good friends, Tawana Anthony, has been involved in floods and things that were going down there in Louisiana. But here in North Carolina, apparently there was a child and a few adults in a campground that were swept away, and there's still 2 people missing, according to what Miss Calhoun was telling us. So
what part of North Carolina, Mark?
I'm not sure which part. I have to do some research, or maybe Kimberly will pop in and explain a little bit more of what was going on. But I do know, as you know, Zach, that we did have those torrential rains and all of that. And we know that was definitely impacting things a couple of days ago or a few days ago. So we did have that kind of things happening and all. So we knew that's one of the things that's going on. Just to give another, and I've not to steal everybody's moments and everything, but I do like to promote all the great guests that we have here, including some that I sometimes manage to kidnap. And then I want Bill to tell about some of the ones he's got so that you can learn about some of the things that we've got going on in the network. But just last week, I had the pleasure of interviewing somebody from your acting world that was none other than Rain Pryor. So Rain Pryor was on the show, and she's Richard Pryor's daughter. So we got a chance to share a little bit about her life. She actually told a story of when her dad, Richard Pryor, was living in, I think she was a teen or a preteen, that they ran into a fan that was thinking that Richard Pryor was Bill Cosby. Talk about diametrically opposed kind of views and everything. But when that happened, he went ahead and signed as Bill Cosby. And I think Rain, as a kid, asked, why did you do that? And he basically was like, they were so excited to see this star, so excited to see Bill Cosby, that he didn't feel right not destroying their dream and their thoughts. So he just went ahead and signed it as Bill Cosby. So somebody has a signature somewhere in their house of Bill Cosby, but it's really Richard Pryor. They got Richard Pryor's signature, but they think they got Bill Cosby. So when some hundred years from now, the folks will do handwriting analysis, and they'll be like, by the way, that wasn't Bill, that was Richard. So that's just one of the guests that he was a
genius. He was, if people go back and look at his early work, especially when he started doing stuff. We used to go to the drive-in theater. He kind of reinvented what Red Fox and those guys were doing in a different way, because Richard, he was politically savvy all the time in his stuff. Like that's why when he died, and this is a true story, they said Richard Pryor said before he died, the closest thing to what he was doing now is Dave Chappelle. because Dave Chappelle also has that wit. Dave Chappelle's grandfather was like really big. He was one of the first black politicians. Both of his parents are college professors, and Richard Pryor's knowledge of how to connect with black people, tell his jokes, and still make America think about all the stuff that was happening was so genius. And every time I watch it, I get a little tear when he talks about things, because I can see he grew up in a house of ill repute. His grandmother raised him in a house of prostitution, Richard Pryor. So he saw things, and as you know, my life wasn't really the best. I could relate to what that brother was talking about. He was such a genius. And the fact that you had his daughter on, Mark, had to be really, really cool. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. It was really amazing. I had I had some other guests that were involved in that show, but that first hour with Rain was truly amazing. It was great hearing the stories that she shared, and looking forward to another guest. And I'm just now telling folks now, because we're still trying to finalize it, but it's actually coming from your world of funk and everything. But Janice Marie Johnson, Taste of Honey, just sent me a Facebook page and said that she's going to join and wants to come on one of our shows. So I might direct her towards yours or mine, but we'll see what happens. It's a teamwork thing. And might even do multiple shows. Might try to get her on both of them, but definitely she sent a notice that she's interested in coming and being interviewed. So we'll get those Taste of Honey kind of stories and all of that. Bill, you've had some great guests. So who are some of the guests that you want to share with Nancy that you've had? Because like I said, you come out of that political world and you've had some amazing folks. And who do you have coming up in the upcoming weeks? You're on mute now.
Sorry, get us together. I mean, we can't run the board.
It's Sunday and he's into Buffalo Bills football. All it is.
Yeah. Right, not till 4:00. But no, I mean, we've had a number of interesting people. They've been fascinating and divergent. I mean, one of the things that I look for is people from all walks of life, because we've got to be able to sit down. I think the more we sit down with people that we may even vehemently disagree with, then at least we'll get a better understanding. Maybe them come out. And so now in the coming weeks, I have high hopes, and it's for this reason. One, a number of the newly elected people that are coming to Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, they're going to be, they want to kind of get their name out there and get fresh perspective, and so there's going to be a number of people that want to be helpful. And then with the new administration coming in, you have a number of people that want to turn the page and then talk about prospectively how we can build a better America and what we should be doing now. And what I think is different this time is that we all know that the tough problems are out there. So it's not like starting with, oh, we're going to, paint the fence or anything. We're talking about tough issues. We're talking about racial inequality. We're talking about a pandemic, and we're talking about economic, not only gentrification, but an economic slowdown. So those are three things, and everybody knows, and it's been part of the discussion the entire time, and that's what they're starting with. So it's not like we're going to start with, well, we're going to, build up the Navy. We're talking about some really serious things: burning in the inner cities, lack of jobs for people of color. I mean, upward mobility of women of color across the way. I mean, and I think this is the year, and I think we may have the guy. There's always that television show, Man, Moment, and Time, or something like that, and I think Joe Biden is that guy for this time.
That's right, he is.
That's what we've got to do. So,
yeah. Nancy,
go ahead.
I was going to say, Nancy, I wanted to tell you everything. Oh, Mark, let me just get this in real quick. I was going to tell Nancy, the night of the election, Bill was basically running a marathon till 12 at night, from 10 in the morning to 12 at night. And when we were signing off, we were also nervous. I got to give Bill his props every time. Mark had it called for Biden, but Bill was the only one when Biden was losing that said, wait until the next day or two, all the votes will come in, Biden will win. And I was like, no, I gave up. And because it just didn't look right. Everybody on the panel was like, no, we're jumping off. It ain't right. Bill, you whatever. And Bill's like, no, hang tough. And he was so calm with it. I couldn't believe it. He was so like he knew. And Bill, I always give you props for that, because your experience working in the political field definitely paid off when it came to letting the world know what actually the breakdown was. He knew. He knew, and he was the only one.
No, you're missing the point, Zach. We at IBM TV knew. Now, all of them on those other networks, they had it all wrong. Those people went to sleep depressed. Anybody that was watching our show, they went
Well,
to
that's
sleep.
true. That's true. They had you. They had you. And I just want to tell you that, Nancy. That was so cool.
Bill, you are amazing.
Yeah,
There's no doubt
real
about it. And that was a marathon session. That was a total marathon session. But I know that Nancy is a big fan of funk music. I'm always glad to see her husband when he pops in and makes comments on Zack's show. And he'll even sometimes come in and make comments on some of our other shows as well. So definitely glad to see when he pops in and everything. So definitely love that and everything. But you'll be glad to know when you can tell the whole funk community that the one that broke it on the IBM TV network was none other than Zack Robertson. Because like I said, he's the one that broke the story, because I was the one that found out about it, but he got to go out front into the crowd and say to the world that Biden won. So Zack, you had the moment in the sun.
My crowning moment, yes. Mark broke it, gave it to me that Saturday morning. And I was in the car, and I said, "Yes, we have a new president, President Biden, and the beautiful Kamala Harris." Thank you. But see, Mark is a great producer. People don't understand. It's the guys and girls behind the glass. So, Mark, you know I love you, but that was the coolest thing, because my daughter called me, and I'm in the car, and I'm using my phone, so I see all this stuff popping on my phone, and sometimes it'll knock out my connection. But that day it didn't. So Kayla's calling me, and I knew something either good or bad happened. What's up, Jeff? So then Mark tells me on the AP that Biden had just been elected, and I knew that's why my daughter was calling me. So I texted her back and said, "Listen, I know you're excited, whatever." But yes, Mark actually knew, and then passed it on, and then we broke it on IBM. So that was a really amazing thing, because I've never really been into politics like I was this year. I've always voted, but I've never really got the grassroots, hands dirty, feet in it. And, a lot of that is due to what we do here, man. Bill and Mark and, everybody else hanging out. And, it was beautiful. It was funny, though, but it was great.
Yeah, it was a great moment, definitely. And speaking of folks and funk moments and everything, we also had the pleasure of having Jeff, and Jeff did some great funk things going on in the community as well. Like I said, he's very much involved in the music community over there on the West Coast, but he's done it throughout the world and everything. So he's done some amazing things, and he's got a show here, Weed Wednesday, where he's getting a lot of our folks that are nonviolent offenders and shouldn't be in jail in the first place out of jail. And so he's getting them out of jail on a regular basis and doing that great work in that field. So we're glad to see him doing that. But then I just love that whole program that they did on Halloween. It was Halloween night. It had one little bad moment that we won't talk about, but other than that, it was a beautiful kind of thing that was happening, where there was just some amazing funk music going on. Zack got a chance to really get down. We got a chance to hear him perform live, so that was really great. But I'm gonna let Jeff tell about his views about what went on. And by the way, Jeff, you haven't been in, so you may not have met Nancy, who has been she is an amazing lady, an actress, a video producer. Y'all have a lot in common. So she does all these great and amazing things, singer, all of that. So I've become a new friend. Matter of fact, one of the things I love, Bill, about this is that we get to meet new friends all the time, because Kim pulled me into a meeting yesterday, and I had a chance to meet Miss Grace, who apparently is a big spirituality person originally out of Ireland, but now living over there in the U.S., I think in California, if I remember correctly. But I had never met her and got a chance to meet her here on this platform. So I'm loving the way that we're making the world smaller and meeting new people.
Yes.
Jeff,
Absolutely.
It's on you.
Good afternoon, Nancy, or good morning, or good night. It's really blessed to meet another filmmaker. 6 years ago, I was not a filmmaker. I got to, hang on, somebody's got something going on here. Can we hear something in the background?
I've been hearing it, I don't know what it is, though.
Hold on 1 second, see if I can make that disappear.
I'm wondering if it's me.
No, it's not you. It was going on before.
Might have been me. Was that better?
Yeah, here we go.
Right.
Nancy, 6 years ago, I've been a reform and cannabis activist for 30 years. And Jack Herer, the man who's no longer with us, wrote the book Emperors Wear No Clothes. And he used to say 30 years ago, paper, fiber, fuel, medicine, and food is the properties of that plant, and nobody should be in jail for marijuana. And 6 years ago, I was talking to the director and producer of Hemp Fest in Seattle, and she told me that they were sponsoring 2 lifers, and I didn't know what a lifer was. And so when she said lifers to me, I said, and it was on my birthday, I said, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to getting people out of jail for nonviolence. That means Jim Crow, that means Leonard Peltier, and that means the 3 people that I've already brought home from marijuana, because it's a Schedule 1 drug and cocaine's a Schedule 2 drug. So you go away nationally for marijuana into jail, and I finished my movie. I learned Final Cut Pro, and when I was 17, I studied with Ansel Adams in Yosemite. So my fine art background is 4x5, 8x10, Hasselblad, and all the film cameras. But I've dedicated the second half of my life, or the last part of my life, the 4th quarter and overtime, to raising the awareness and to ending prohibition globally. Because if you know that it's healed children from brain cancer, the CBD and the Charlotte's Web and the THC has helped the 22 vets that kill themselves every day from opiates, okay? Because they have PTSD and there's a receptor. Why is it still, for God's sakes, are any of my boys and girls in jail still? So it's a blessing and a pleasure to meet another filmmaker, and you're welcome to join me on any of my crusades, especially getting Spike Lee to help us do the Jim Crow story. That's my next story. I want to make a movie, the Jim Crow story, and tell it like it is. Not just another story about one guy who was in jail for 37 years that went on to America's Got Talent this year and sang Blackbird Singing in the Dead of Night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. And he was in jail for 37 years, and I cried, and I put that on my show one day because I filmed it with my little phone camera. And YouTube scratched us for putting that on, but it's okay. It still got out there that one day. We have to take the steps to get the shit out there. And film brings more people into a room than just one photograph.
Yep. That's so true, Jeff, and everything. And I definitely would love to hear Nancy talk about some of her comments about what you just said. But one of the things I'm curious about, and I hate that I cannot remember the gentleman's name. Bill, you'll be ashamed of me for not remembering it, even though I get emails from them all the time. But the gentleman that was involved with the movement, who is still in jail and everything, and has been in jail for a number of years. And I know I get emails from him all the time. But what are we hearing about the movement, or do you have any of your students that even are involved with MOVE or know what MOVE is over there in Philadelphia? Because whenever I think of Philadelphia, I definitely think of the MOVE movement. So I was wondering if you could talk about that, Nancy. I think you're on mute.
Now I have to unmute. Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because when I was still teaching, I taught at a private Christian academy in Southwest Philadelphia for 16 years. And during one of our field trips, we actually got to meet Ramona Africa, who was one of the survivors of MOVE. And, she was just so down home, so warming, so, open and honest. And, so for the students to have met her and, see that this, this is a real life person who had this experience with, the whole MOVE thing. And it's funny, I had another filmmaker friend of mine, Tyson Hall, came to Philadelphia, and I was actually able to take him down the block where MOVE happened. And for him, he said it was like a religious experience, to be standing on the ground where that whole thing happened. MOVE is there's so many layers, so many things that we could discuss about that whole period of time. At the time we had a black mayor, Mayor Wilson Good, and he pretty much, to have people tell it, he took the fall for that whole move disaster when it wasn't him at all. It was actually constructed by the Rizzo administration. Rizzo was the mayor before Good became mayor, and pretty much the police and fire department were still taking their orders from him. So the way that things were orchestrated, it just seemed like he took the fall, and he took it graciously, and pretty much destroyed his whole political career. So they thought, because Wilson is alive and well and doing fine here. So there's so much that we could talk about with the whole move thing. And yeah, the youth these days, they're not really as familiar with it as they should be. One thing I used to say, when I was a teacher, I used to get into a lot of trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble, if you will, because I was one pointing out things that people weren't discussing. I was exposing them to things that they wouldn't have been exposed to. And I was getting pulled in the principal's office, every other week. Finally, it got to the point where Dr. Miles was like, you know what, let her go and let her do her thing, because she saw time and again the fruit of my labor. As we speak today, one of my former students has just been named the House Democratic Representative, State Senator Joanna McClinton. I had Joanna, I began teaching Joanna when she was in the 7th grade. Wow. And she was just named the Democratic House leader. So the things that I taught, I like I said, I got into a lot of trouble as a teacher, but it was well worth it, because I feel like it's important that we pour into them the things that, aren't found in the textbooks, because most of the stuff in the textbooks are lies and machinations. Let's be honest about it. So it's up to us to, expound on the truth and share the truth, even if it means we get into trouble. I don't mind the trouble, because if it's going to change a life, it's going to change the trajectory of somebody's life. If it's going to be the catalyst to make somebody free, then it's well worth it.
Yep. That's
no,
right.
I definitely believe in good trouble. And by the way, I'm actually looking up on my other computer. But one of the things that the gentleman does that is still serving time and everything is he writes he does a podcast, and the podcast is called Radio Diary. So he does a lot of things around his whole experience while he's been in prison, around what's going on in our prison system. So he's definitely involved with that whole Radio Diaries kind of program.
Is he bringing it from prison? Is he in prison doing that?
He is still in prison.
They allow him to do that? They let him do that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's been doing that now for a number of years and all of that. And while I pull that up and get up some more information on that, one of the things that I would love to know from you, because you made a reference, Jeff, to a name that I know I know it because of part of my roots being Native American, but a lot of folks don't necessarily know, particularly some of our global people, about the story of Leonard Peltier. And I do consider him one of our prisoners of war, and I do think that we do have prisoners of war even here in the United States. But could you tell a little bit in your mind about Leonard Peltier and what his whole story is? Because like I said, I know about that, but our folks in Australia, our folks in London, and a number of other places, they may not be as familiar with
Leonard Peltier. I think had the most bumper stickers in the 70s and 80s and 90s that I've ever seen. It said "Free Leonard," and he's a Native American. And he is an activist, and he was convicted for murder for, let's see, he's been in prison for murder since 1975 of 2 FBI agents at Pine Ridge Reservation. And his people include Lakota and Dakota ancestors. In a controversial trial, he was sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of life imprisonment for first-degree murder, and the federal FBI agents and human rights watchdogs such as Amnesty International, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, and the 14th Dalai Lama have campaigned for his clemency.
Yeah, I knew about that because a friend of mine was actually involved in the Native American movement and was involved in a lot of things that has to go with that. By the way, you mentioned Good Trouble and all of that, Nancy. So whenever I think of Good Trouble, I think of the great John Lewis. So I'd love to know some of your reflections on John Lewis and what you think of John Lewis, because whenever I think of that term, he definitely is one that coined it. And of course, we just lost that legendary figure. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about John Lewis.
My thoughts of John Lewis are wrapped up in that picture of him and President Obama hugging. I mean, he was such a giant. He reflected everything that a man who's taking a stand is. He was remarkable, and we lost a giant. We lost a fighter. We lost a leader. He can't be replaced, but his work can be replicated if we, willing to take up that banner. He was amazing. He was absolutely.
The timing of his death, sometimes I think the creator takes angels so we can really see the light, because they shed so much light, which we're following that light. But at some point, we have to let them rest and we have to pick up that light and continue. And it was ironic that all the turmoil we were having when John Lewis and Ruth Bader Ginsburg both kind of went that same time. And I think they had shed so much light among, and many others as well, but it was like the creator was like, okay, they need to rest. We're going to put it in your hands now, because they actually made it possible for people to that never would have a chance to be in those circles to have a chance. John Lewis was getting his head cracked open, on the bridge. Back there when all that stuff was going down, he was going to jail with Martin Luther King. So he, had that firsthand thing. And Nancy, getting back to your student that actually is in Congress, that's a beautiful thing. That's got to be the ripple effect that we was talking about earlier. What you have here spreads out, man. And it's amazing. And hopefully the youth will get it, and I think they do. I know my daughters get it. There's a lot of young people out there, like with your podcast, they're taking this now and they're going to run with it, and I think that's beautiful.
I think it's time to make a movie about the light sharers, the people that you just talked about, John Lewis and Ruth Bader. They could be in that movie, and we do a movie just like Thrive. Thrive hits on so many different points, but as legacy goes, we could have Martin Luther, we could have Stevie Wonder, we could have all the people we want to say as legacy people that are talking against the normal, and put John Lewis and put Ruth Bader in there, and then some people that are still living that are doing great things. But I think that would be a great movie to finance and to make happen, because then people would watch it and it would be like a history book. You couldn't turn away from it if we tell the truth.
That's so true. And Bill, I know you said you have to bounce off in a little bit, and we still got a little bit time to go and everything. But that being said, who are some of those movement people that you reflect on? Because like I said, you've been involved in a lot of things around the community, both as a politician yourself, when you've had runs for office, definitely as a media person, definitely as a person involved in politics, as well on the street level in terms of like being involved in terms of campaigns and running the campaign. So who are some of the folks that motivated you?
You're muted, Bill.
I said, it's an excellent question. There are a number of different things. Of course, at the larger level, for me, there's always Malcolm X, who I just found to be just a thinker, a man of action, on the board. But balanced out, obviously, by Martin. However, the one that really shaped my thought process the most was a gentleman. He was my law school professor mentor, and he came out of a little place called Chester, Pennsylvania, there near Philadelphia. And his name was Muhammad Isaiah Kenyatta, or really his original name was Donald Jackson. But he had a very interesting life, was in the movement, and I met him later on in life. And they were some of the most moving and unforgettable conversations I've ever had with him. He passed on in '92, but and I think his grandson Malcolm Kenyatta is a state representative up there in Pennsylvania.
Sure is.
That's right. And so his grandfather was my law school professor and also my best friend. When his grandfather taught at the State University of New York at Buffalo. So, and I've never had a chance to meet Malcolm. But anyway, Muhammad was no joke. And actually, he's hanging right there on the wall underneath. Well, he's in the back, right underneath the lamp and above the helmet.
Do you have Muhammad Ali up there?
No, not Muhammad. Muhammad Kenyatta.
Oh, okay.
yeah, different Muhammad. Okay, but anyway, so yeah, I would say him, and he was definitely an activist, and he was so prominent that it's very rare. But when he passed, they ran his obituary in the New York Times and all over the place. They ran it in Philadelphia, they ran it in Boston, they ran it in New York, they ran it whatever. He was involved with the COINTELPRO. He had he fought the FBI. He ran for mayor in Philadelphia against Frank Rizzo.
Oh wow.
The dude was a funny dude, and he was a bad dude. But I figure, hey, listen, anybody that's willing to speak up, talk out, walk down the street, knock on a door, say hello, pick up a phone, or just get out there.
We did definitely need more folks like that. Those folks that are gonna get out there and all of that. So we definitely got to have that. And I think Zack's on mute.
Yeah, Zack, you're on mute.
Bill, what about Bill?
While all this muting is going on, because I didn't touch anything. But anyway, Bill, when are you gonna run for office?
Oh no, those days.
No, for real, I'm serious, because you would be good at it.
Those days are, I think, pretty much done for me now. I did.
Yeah, because he already did it one time, right? Then why don't you share that story? Because Zack doesn't know it. You told me, but not everybody.
I don't know anything yet. Tell me.
Okay, well, first of all, Zack, I just wanted to point out I was so jealous of your number 9 that I had to come up with a number. So I dropped everything else and I put number 13. Because I
right.
Good.
Good.
9 is so cool, but I only had number 13. But no, I was a Democratic candidate for Buffalo City Council in 2001, and it was an open seat. And I'd been working on campaigns and everything in local, state, national, and so I was all set. And we were running up, and then the primary was on 9/11.
So, Bill, what's your take on Jim Kelly?
Oh, I love Jim Kelly. What's wrong with Jim Kelly?
No. What's the legacy? I see you got your jacket on, and we're talking about heroes. What about Jim Kelly?
Oh no, he's a football player. I mean, my heroes are different. My heroes are talking about changing lives. I mean, that's a football game. Okay?
Yeah, but he was a hero. He went 4 times, didn't he?
Yes. Well, I was there. We all 4 times. I mean, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I mean, no, I'm not worried about that, Jeff. But I think you're confusing. Being a fan of sport and being a champion of our lives. And right now,
but sports it's all a game. I think life is a game, and when you get somebody that's passionate and doing their thing properly, he went 4 times, so he's a winner.
No, Jeff, we're not at odds here. I entirely agree with you. I think that we are just on 2 different levels. When I talk about who are my heroes and those that inspire me, those are people that fought for social justice, so that people like myself or who look like me, either before or after me, will have a fair shot and that can move up in the world, not just play a kid's sport. And because part of it is that they save lives, and everything that we do here in our community, or Nancy, as you've done by educating leaders that are now in office and making decisions about economic things, what government programs are serviced, what school books get purchased, what teachers get paid, what cops, how they're integrated, how the things are policing, and all that stuff. That is far more serious than it is a football game. But I'll let you go.
Hold on one second before Nancy leaves, because it looks like Nancy's got to get ready to bounce and everything. So we know that we're going to continue the conversation going on for a while. But we did want to say goodbye to Nancy. And by the way, you will be glad to know that we do sometimes get into not just the deep stuff here, but we'll sometimes go into sports, because we know that definitely Bill is a Buffalo Bills fan. We know that Jeff has got a whole thing going on with the Dodgers. And I'm thinking that you're probably like a let me think. We got the 76ers over there, and my good friend, well, not good friend, but my schoolmate, Doc Rivers, is taking over as y'all's coach. So we got him up in Philadelphia now, and I'm thinking that y'all are also going in football. So I'm thinking you're probably an Eagle. So you're probably an Eagle fan. Am I correct?
No,
Or
the Eagles get on my last nerves.
Well, that's
They
right.
get on my
You're from
last
New York.
nerves. They're horrible.
Okay. Well, then, do you have a football team, Nancy?
Right now, I'm riding with the Chiefs because I'm absolutely in love with Andy Reid. So it is what it is.
Kansas City, KC.
You don't need to be telling Bill that. Bill is a Buffalo Bills. That's the AFC. I don't know if he can get along with anybody that's a Chiefs fan.
I get along with Zack, and Zack, listen, Nancy, both you and I ought to be charitable to Zack because he supports the Jets, and I think they're going to get the number one pick this year. So, I mean,
Hey, we tanking for Trevor, baby. Tank for Trevor. Tanking.
Oh, and here comes the LA banner, y'all. Here comes the LA banner.
But I, like Nancy, I jumped on the Chiefs bandwagon 2 years ago, and they took me to a Super Bowl, and I'm a ride that Chiefs. See, I carry my red KC all the time.
You haven't lived with the Heartbreaker Kid. I'm in Seattle, man, and he fucking gives us a heart attack every game. We've won by 7, by 3, by 2, by 7, by 3 on comebacks like 12 times this year.
But you got a Super Bowl, so
no, actually, he's only got one. But you lost last week to Buffalo, so don't.
I know.
That was a fluke, though. As much as I like you, Bill,
I'm a homer.
I think Seattle's better.
We play the Rams today.
Oh,
So it was a fluke. Well, I can't talk because, like I said, both of my teams are doing not that well because I am a diehard Minnesota Vikings fan, and I know Kim, our boss, is as well. We're not doing all that well in the league. You know, a lot of the other teams are doing. Are really hurt us and everything. And then I'm here in Carolina, so I root for the Panthers, and they're not doing that well either. So between the Panthers and the Vikings, we're not doing that well with the teams that I root for. So it's not a good thing in terms of football.
East, baby.
Let's have a moment of silence for Kobe, everybody.
Yeah.
On a Sunday, a great human. You know, he got in trouble, but then he pulled out of it, and you know, just like La Bamba, they went down in a plane, and thank God that they were teaching us to be the best you can be.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, Zack, I hope your Jets keep tanking. Nancy, we'll see the Chiefs again because you know, I mean, because you guys got one on us this year already, and that was a tough game. You know, and
I don't think they're letting the Jets play this week because I don't see them on the schedule. They're like,
blame it on COVID.
You guys don't have to play.
Right.
They let them off the hook. They told them they didn't have to play this man.
It's real. Take care.
Bye,
It's been a pleasure, Nancy.
No, I don't see them on the schedule at all.
Yeah, it looks like two of our guys have bounced and everything. So I'm actually going to let y'all have a conversation for a minute because I got to check on something myself. So we're going to let a fun thing go on here in the roundtable since it's just Jeff and Zack. So I'm going to bounce up for a second and we're going to let Zack interview Jeff and Jeff interview Zack. And then I'll come back. So we're going to have a fun moment.
The Jeff's thing about Kobe. Kobe, you know, he was a hard working, grinding type of athlete. And he spoke languages, several different languages. He grew up in Italy. You know, a lot of people that know his legacy, man, really understand what he was about. The thing that bothers me, and I'm into the conspiracy thing, when he was actually, and you would know this better than I, Jeff, but when he was actually in that battle with the lawsuit with the pharmaceutical company, that stuff was about to blow his direction. And he was about to settle because somebody had used Black Mamba. Did you hear about that?
Tell me. No.
Well, yes, there was a rumor going around that the pharmaceutical company wanted to use his moniker Black Mamba for something, and he was fighting them for it. And, you know, pharmaceutical companies, they have a lot of pull. And there was, you know, how the internet lit up and they said, hey, was his death an accident or was it an act of some type of conspiracy thing?
Well, they always say that, you know, when Prince was talking to Tavis Smiley about chemtrails, he went down 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know, so we can't really ever substantiate that stuff unless we have proof. And my daddy, I told my daddy, I said, somebody knows. We were at the beach one day and he says, what do you mean? I said, somebody knows something about everything. Like the guy who killed President Kennedy knows that he did it. He was the one that pulled the trigger, right? And so I think somebody knows everything. Somebody knows who killed Gandhi. Somebody knows who killed Martin Luther. The person that did it, and the people that brought Prince or Mamba into a conspiracy, or Michael Jackson, you know, or any of our superstars. It must be difficult being a superstar.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like we lost so many people, you know, through some really suspicious things. You know, Prince being found in the elevator, and you know, just the CIA with Malcolm, and the guy actually, there's this video out now. The guy is actually in the melee of the Malcolm video. There's a guy that walks across the screen, and the producer of this documentary was saying that's the guy that pulled the trigger with the shotgun. He ended up living in New Jersey, and he became a Muslim. And a lot of people always said on the street, this was the guy. You know what I mean? The same with the Reuben Hurricane story that Denzel Washington played so elegantly in that movie Hurricane. But he was framed by dirty cops in New Jersey. They was after him since he was a kid. You know what I mean? He wasn't even near that bar when that murder happened. He was somewhere else.
If we're talking about righteousness and truth and all that stuff, I mean, you can just put your finger down and stop at OJ. There's never any truth that really comes out.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? My one of my teachers, I was in college at the time when that happened. And,
OJ, fucking OJ.
Yeah, exactly. And my professor said he surmised, and he had taught criminal justice in D.C., but he was teaching me macroeconomics. But he told the whole class, he said, listen, this is what happened. He said, people forget OJ was married before he met his second wife, right? And his son from his first marriage looked just like him, more so because he was married to a black woman, looked exactly like him. And the professor surmised that it was his son that did it, because the next evening, his son was on a plane to a tropical island somewhere. And he said, OJ did the whole thing in the van, would chase me in the truck thing to take away so his son could slip away. So they said there was somebody there, built like OJ, did fit the glove, had the description, but the professor told us it was his oldest son. Does that make sense?
Baby.
That's what he told us. Yeah, that's what he said.
You heard it here first, everybody.
Yep.
You know, but like I said to my father when I was a child, somebody knows.
Yep, that's right. Somebody
knows. You know, they found Prince in an elevator, and what did his song said? Let's go crazy.
Yep.
Don't let the elevator get you down.
Yep.
Don't let the elevator get you down. Let's go crazy.
Yeah, you know? That's bizarre. I still want to know what. Matter of fact, if you tune in, and I think the first week in December, I'm having Vanessa Bartholomew on, and she was in the Prince camp. She's up in Minneapolis, right? She's on vacation now, but I talked to her the other day, and I said, listen, I want you to come on the show. We can talk about politics, this and that. But she is very much involved in that group of people up in the MPLS researching about Prince. She's very much involved in that. So,
well, I'd love to be involved with that conversation. And let's cross-pollinate on my music show to bring some of your musical guests onto my show. That would be great.
Yeah, I haven't had quite a few in a while, but I'll definitely let you know, and I'll definitely include you in that, because I know that's a serious conversation. I'll make sure you get the link on that. But you know, life is funny, man. We have all this music that these great people left us to listen to, and listen to their words and try to understand, and you know, try to make it a peaceful place, you know, because that's what they was about. Same with Bob Marley, peace. Same with Otis Redding and Sam Cooke. You know, all of that stuff is incredible. So,
I don't believe it's so diabolical that politicians take out beautiful musicians. I don't believe in that crap, you know. I just don't believe in it, or there'd be more evidence. Just like aliens, I can't explain crop circles, but we're here on the planet, and I think there'd be more proof, or more people like you and me that would have already exposed Prince and Tavis, that would already have been exposed all this stuff. You know, it's not, you know, it's not the devil, and it's not the this, and it's not the that. You know, I don't want to listen to anything that is anything but the truth, you know. And I think, you know, some people try to make a movie about Martin Luther, some people, you know, about John F. Kennedy, and they pull out this and that, but they hold back the real juice. You know, just like when I was living in Holland and my next door neighbor was making schnapps, he gave me his family recipe except for the final ingredient, because it was private. You know?
Yeah. A lot of these movies, they do embellish, but I myself have seen, you know, whatever you want to call them, ETs and all of that. That's why I'm so enamored with that subject, because I have seen stuff as a kid and even as a grown man. And I've actually taken people to places where they actually could see them and experience them themselves. But that's a whole nother conversation. And actually one day maybe we'll have a show about that. I'll have you on and we'll talk about the experiences. I think sometimes the majority of things that people see is all our own stuff. You know, it's stuff that man has done. But I'm not sure about politicians and how they might want to rearrange a demographic by killing a leader.
Right, but silencing Michael Jackson when all he did was get together with Quincy Jones and say, "We are the world. Let's make a better day and let's start living." And the controversy of him being this or that with children, you know, that's a different story than killing him to get rid of him from singing about peace and love. They let Frank Sinatra go forever, and maybe he was a mafia guy and he was singing, you know, but he danced his crowd till he was 80. And we didn't get Prince. We didn't get Prince till he was 80.
Yeah. I think a lot of times it has to do with their royalties, because people are worth more dead than they are alive. Believe it or not, when it comes to those royalties, they are. That's why with Tupac and Biggie, they still haven't found people that killed them. And they know who did it. They know exactly who did it. They know who killed Tupac. But they, you know, his royalties was something that the record company was trying to take, because he was actually getting ready to leave.
Well, didn't Biggie go down first?
No, Pac went down first.
Pac went down, and then Retribution. Retribution with Biggie.
Nah, it had nothing to do with that. It was the record label that was trying. Tupac was getting ready to leave Death Row Records. It's documented. He was going to leave them. He had already set up his own studio stuff and everything, and he was getting ready to get into the political video world, since videos were really popular. And I believe, and the guy believes, and the lawyers believe, that he was killed so the record company could maintain control of his work and sell it and put it out. Biggie, I'm not sure about. I don't know. They don't really know. There was a documentary on it, and they were saying, well, he was killed because of retribution. But Pac's people say, listen, him and Biggie was friends. Even Tupac's mother and Biggie's mother said, listen, they were friends. All of that West Coast, East Coast stuff was started so they could sell records. It was all about the money. It was like,
that
hey,
coast is the best coast, you know?
Yeah, all of that stuff, man, was BS. So,
well, it's like a jungle sometimes. It makes you wonder how I keep from going.
Yes, sir. Listen, I got to pop off. I got to go do some stuff and get out and grind. I don't know
where's Mark.
Mark is back? Okay.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, brother. Mark, you did a fantastic job today. Thank you, as always. You know, loving what you're doing back there, man. You keeping it real. And, you know, I want to appreciate and give a shout out to you, because I really do appreciate, even though we joke around a lot, but, you know.
Zach, we'll have you back on Living Room Tapes, and Mark will have you on Weed Wednesdays. And Zach, you're welcome to come on Weed Wednesdays.
Okay, I try. You know what it is? Sometimes on Wednesdays, I'm working late because I've been driving a lot. So sometimes I don't get in until the show was over, but then I try to go back and watch reruns. But lately, I've been, you know, trying to make a little bit more money, because And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong or right. Are we not getting ready to go into another slide? What do you
We're
think?
going to lock down again. My state is locking down on Monday.
See, that's why I got to make the money now, because when we
Do
go
it.
to that slide, and there's not much out there, trust me, for Uber drivers. We're getting crushed. We're a necessary evil out there in the world, if y'all are watching. We do our job, but we are getting completely crushed because nobody's going to restaurants, sporting events, concerts.
And people are afraid to get into, public.
Well, people aren't just going anywhere. That's the problem.
Right.
Very few people are out. So it really cut into our.
Maybe you get a T-shirt. Maybe you should have T-shirts. You get a T-shirt whenever they ride with you.
Hey, whatever. I'm just grateful that there's a little bit of money over here. But, it's just crazy. I'm worried that when this slide happens, what do we grab to? Is there a check coming? Is there stimulus coming? What is it?
Yes. Biden and Kamala are gonna provide you. In Canada they get $1,000 a month. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody gets $1,000. It doesn't solve it all. It doesn't pay your rent and mortgage. But you know what? I figured out I eat $100 worth of food a week, and so my EBT card is $200. I need to take $200 out of my savings every month just to eat. What's 200 times 12? That's $2,400 a year, and that's a lot of Uber.
Oh yeah.
So you think about it per year, $10 for ESPN a month. That's $120 a year.
Yeah, that's why I don't
That's
have
a whole lot of Uber.
That's why I got the basic stuff that I need, and that's it. I've had to, completely, and most Americans out there are conserving because we can feel this thing is coming, and unfortunately, I don't want it to come. But I agree with you, Jeff. It's the slide is coming. It's going to lock down. And see, the lockdown is necessary now.
If they would lock down everything for 1 month solid,
yes,
and we would just have take-in food, or they would give us a stimulus pack to go get $500 worth of food and put it in your freezer for a month. If we could do that, we might be able to knock it.
Yep. I had an idea, and I said what we should do, Biden and Harris, they should train people to be like how Japan and China had the people in the hazmat gear to clean everything. So that would create jobs, and it's a new skill because we never really do that on a grand scale in America. Every state should be like, listen, if you want a job, get in this hazmat suit. We're going to lock down, like Jeff said, for a month. We're going to clean the whole United States, all the metropolitan.
That's all we got to do. And the Republicans are, what are they doing? They're saying, no, forget the masks and let's have super spreader events.
Yep.
And I'm not opposed to Republicans. A lot of my best friends are, but you know what? I don't want division anymore.
Me neither. I want peace and love, man. Yo, I'm out. I'll see y'all later. Take care. Love y'all.
Love and light. You're on mute, Mark. Mark, you're muted. I can talk to myself. Hey, everybody. It's the Mark Show.
Got multiple things going on and everything. Life is just busy, and that's always here. Jeff, if you could just tell folks a little bit of those that are watching some of the issues that you're most passionate about and what you've got going on right now, and then I'll come back with some more comments. But I'd love to hear you share that for maybe about 5 minutes or so.
Well, yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before, we've been in Mexico at the Jalisco Cup, and that's Mexico trying to legalize pot and marijuana and cannabis and CBD for medicine and for children and PTSD and all that stuff. So it is a global time. And I said earlier that Carlos, Paul Stanford from Oregon, and his team are down there. And Carlos's secondhand man, his name is Guacamole. Guacamole and them are doing the judging. I think they had their awards cup last night, and they checked in with me. And then this Wednesday on my show, Weeds Day, we're going to be having an incredible bevy of beautiful people on, and we'll show some a little few spots from Mexico. You know, they're doing it. They tried to fly me down, but I wouldn't go to the airport. No way, no how. Not as it's getting bigger and badder with COVID. And so we're still locked in here, everybody. And it's a boomerang. It's bummer. But you know what? At the same time, it's making us more intentional when we want to date. You know, when we want to go on to Tinder or any of the dating sites, you just have to say, well, we're in COVID. What's your deal? You got dogs. How are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. You make friends with people before you jump in. And I was never
What I would say is that actually we're going to end this particular broadcast in this room, and we're going to go to the next room, and then we'll be going over there very shortly. So that's what I'm trying to tell you is we're heading over to the next room, and when we get to the next room, we'll be bringing up Maxine and your other guests.
So, Mark, you're still online. We can hear you. Can you hear me, Mark? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so we're so enamored by being part of the medicine and telling everybody to just hold on tight and get ready for wash down and glove up again and mask up again and just do the right thing, you know, so we can all come together. Come together right now over me.
Yeah, we've got to come together right now and all of that. So I definitely appreciate you telling what you've got going on and everything. So definitely that is greatly appreciated. So definitely appreciate you doing that. But we're going to have a couple of ads about some of the shows that exist here. And I'm going to be ready to hit those right now. And then we'll come back and maybe have some more conversation.
Okay. I got a few more minutes.
Okay, cool. Oops, wrong one.
Mark, would you like me to play my my lead?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see if I can share my my screen with you. Hang on, I got to get back to here. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay.
Hold on one second.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen with you now, and here we go.
Hold on one second. I gotta grab it.
You ready?
Not quite, but hold on. Hold on. Hold on one second.
No worries.
Yep. on one second. Hold on one
No
second.
worries. No worries.
Yeah, if this works. All right, there we go.
You ready?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Welcome to Weed Wednesdays, produced by International Broadcast Media, better known as IBM.TV. I'm your host, Jeff Eichen, human rights advocate and social activist fighting for government deregulation of weed and the release of all nonviolent criminals incarcerated for possession of marijuana. Moving violations, parking tickets, IRS debt, etc. Here on Weeds Day, we keep the public informed about all things weed related, including festivals and legislation surrounding regulating the growth of hemp. Today, my guests are this is Tommy Jones for Life.
Hold on one second, please. Yeah, hold on one second. It's not showing. Tell it.
Want me to do it again?
Yeah, do it one more time.
Are you ready? It's only 1:50.
Welcome to Weed Wednesdays, produced by International Broadcast Media, better known as IBM.TV. I'm your host, Jeff Eichen, human rights advocate and social activist fighting for government deregulation of weed and the release of all nonviolent criminals incarcerated for possession of marijuana. Moving violations, parking tickets, IRS debt, etc. Here on Weeds Day, we keep the public informed about all things weed related, including festivals and legislation surrounding regulating the growth of hemp. Today, my guests are this is Tommy Jones for Life. Magic.
Yeah, there it goes.
There you go. Okay. Did you get it?
All right then. Yes. Everything is good. So everything's good here. So what are some of the things that you're concerned about with the administration?
Honesty. that's that's everything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You know, and just bringing the division bell to ring that division bell so we can, you know, if I were going to ring the division bell, I think I got a bell here somewhere here. If I was going to ring the division bell, I would go. Did you hear that? So can you hear me, Mark? You can unmute yourself. Yeah, so I just want to stop division, and I want to stop bad food. I want to stop global warming. I want to stop abuse to children. I want to stop no schools. I want to stop pandemic. I don't want to blame anybody for killing, 200,000 people in America. I want to just be rid of the what we learned in Hebrew school when I was a child, not to repeat people that are massively, exterminating people. And I don't put it in the same category. I put it in a similar category, that we have to learn from our mistakes and from allowing huge monsters to proliferate hatred, and Martin Luther King said we got to climb the mountain, run the mountaintop, and all that stuff. It's true. And Prince, our beautiful Prince music guy, said, sign of the times, mess with your mind, hurry before it's too late. And that's what we got to do, is that we have to hurry before it's too late, because there's a rainforest in Africa, I think, that's burning right now, or maybe it's South America, but there's a rainforest that I heard about this week that nobody knows about, and it's burning right now, and it's one of the canaries in the coal mine on the longevity of our planet. And it's been burning every year for thousands of years, but never like it is now. And the trees made a special bark that would hold the seed, so when the tree burned, the seeds would go down and regrow themselves. So what divinity is Mother Nature? We're all getting cancer. We're all getting Alzheimer's. So many babies are being born with glyphosate in their system, and they get Down syndrome, or ADD, or ABB, or AQQ, or ABZ, ZOF, and monkeys are still in the zoo. We have to evolve as humans. And no matter if you believe in crop circles or extraterrestrials, I don't care. If you're here to help us, get busy and help us, and stop going to Mars, for Elon Musk. You have all the money in the world. You're making batteries for cars that are not good. They don't break down when they're dead. And so let's keep our Earth happy, and let's feed the planet. Let's learn how to clean our soil and feed the planet, and our administration can help to do that with more gentleness. And I believe that having a woman in office is going to bring the mama, the Kamala, the Mamala, to the office that we need. We need Golda Meir. We need women to tell us to go to our room and contemplate what we've done wrong. And that's it. That's all I got to say. So if you want me to take over the spaceship here, I'll ride it all the way to my favorite show right now is Discovery Star Trek. I've been watching the first two episode years, and they're on episode 3, and I'm not so happy with episode 3, but it's all I got, and I love it way more than Star Wars, because Star Wars it was about war, and so that's all I know. And come back, Mark, save me. Unmute yourself, Mark, and say hey. Come on in. You can do it. There you are. What's going on, Mark? Unmute. Yeah, baby. You're muted again. Well, this is the Mark Show. It's Jeff Eichen here. We're both IBM producers, and welcome to IBM Television, Smart Television in the Morning. No dead air allowed. And I'm so proud to be with Mark. And Zack and all the pundits today. And I'm going to bounce pretty soon, so get your bootay back on the screen, Mark, and let's wrap it up so I can move on with my projects and have a Sunday. Can you not unmute today? Come on, baby. So, Jeff, I can hear big screen me, and I have a show called Weeds Day, and it's on Wednesday at noon on the IBM network. So look for my show, populate it, like it, come on board if you get a chance, and if you have a story, just text me. Let's see, in the comments here, I put my email and the link to my movie. You can find me from there. So I'm really I'm blessed to be on the show right now and in line. Mark's rebooting, and so we had Zack on, who worked with Bootsy. That's a boot. That's a boot in its own right. Bootsy, and there's Mark again. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how's it going there? It looks like things are going a little bit better over here, and we'll see how this works and everything. But we're actually going to wind everything down. I appreciate you holding the fort and everything, but definitely some things were going on there, and I'm not sure what was happening, but glad that you were able to hold the fort down.
A reboot is what we need in the White House. In the
That's
White
all.
House.
Just a good old-fashioned reboot. So I know you've got to bounce, so I'm just going to run some commercials and get us on up to the 3 o'clock hour. We've got some great shows. Alexandria May is coming up at 3 o'clock with her cafe. And then at 4:15, we've got another show coming up as well. So definitely we're looking forward to those great shows. So I'm going to run a couple of the spots as we get close to the 3 o'clock hour, because I know
Mark,
you've got to
Mark,
bounce.
I'm going to put my spot in your in the chat here.
Okay.
That's my Weed Wednesday spot, and so you can play that whenever you want. And we'll be on from Jalisco, Mexico. You're welcome to come in Wednesday, and peace out.
Peace out.
Okay, thank you. Love you.
No problem. Okay. So like I was saying, we've got a number of great shows coming on and everything. So I'm going to put on some of these programs that air here on the network, and then we'll be back very shortly. So I hope y'all are enjoying the conversation. We had some tremendous conversation there earlier, and that was great hearing those great conversations and people's thoughts. So we're going to see what's going on and everything, and we're going to try to figure out and make this thing work, because things are acting crazy over here, and we got to figure out what's going on. So if y'all hold on, we're going to make this work in a nice way. But right now we're going to play one of the video clips and let folks check out what's going on in that regard. So we've got some great programming here, and we're going to check out one of our favorite shows.
Understand your why. And so one of my whys was to become a public speaker, to motivate, inspire, and to help individuals and small business owners to gain the resources needed to build success in their personal and professional lives. So just having like point blank, this is exactly what I want to do. You know, what is my purpose? That purpose was to motivate, inspire, and to help individuals. What's the benefits there? What will be the benefit for others? That will bring resources to small businesses. I'll be able to help them capitalize on their product, or getting them, referring them to a different vendor. You have to have, what is the business, what you're doing, what is your goal? next step on the smart goal is measure. They need to be measurable. The timeline, measure exactly. You stay on track. Because it makes you feel more motivated and excited. How much time it take me? How much money will I need? Exactly what it is that you're looking for. But for me, the most important thing I think you can do is what you are. In my next step, find out how long would it take them. It will help you get each step by actually each thing can be done and how it can be plan. I would marinate on the things that I need to do. I showed him my book, and he was like, if you just elongate the next, da, 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 da. I'm just trying to get you to see a picture of that when sometimes things that you overlook will be right there, or some things that are right in front of you, you don't see. So by having the ability to just is great. Have the thought out plan written down is even better.
You know, the funk don't always give you what you want, but it'll give you what you need. You know what I'm saying? We never left. Yo, we back. NHFA in your face. Bringing you something good to your ear hole, y'all. Check it out. It's our time to shine. It's our time to grind. It's the phone.
Well, folks, it looks like it's just me and you, and that's going to wrap it up. As you can tell, we've got all kinds of great programming here on the network. So we're definitely checking that out. There's a great programming that exists right here on this network. And of course, you've got things like the Gamers Den, which I try to help with, and all of that. And then, of course, we've got things like the Online Dinner Party, which features me and Wednesdays and our mystery guest. Who knows who the mystery guest will be this week? And then, of course, we've got the radio show with Mark Lee and Mullins Music and Memories. And I know I've got some actor types as well as some musician types that will be joining me on it this week. So that should be an amazing conversation as well. So we're looking forward to these amazing conversations that we're about to have and all that is going on with that. In the meantime, we're going to just keep things rolling right along, and we're going to go to Alexandria May's Music Cafe coming your way in just a matter of a few minutes. Definitely enjoyed the conversations I was having with Bill Tresvant. And like I said, he'll be back with his political news. And of course, he's always keeping us informed about what's happening politically. But right now, it's time to get on out of here. And now that we get out of here, we're going to see what's going on in other parts of the world. You know, there was a great business leadership conference that was taking place here in Durham. I was glad to be part of that. And of course, there was a number of other things that were happening as well. So right now, we're going to get on out of here, and we'll find out other things that are happening in your world. But right now, I don't know where Bill Trasbot disappeared to. Probably watching those Buffalo Bills, because he said he had to do that. And I know Zack's got to get out there and get his Uber on. So that being said, we're going to wrap it up and head on out of here. But y'all have a great one, and we'll be back on Monday evening with more exciting programming coming your way on Monday afternoon. But I know that the network will still have things going on this week, including some more this afternoon. I believe we've got another thing going on with the lawyers, and of course, we've always got things happening with folks like Talking Upstream, as well as, of course, the Alexandria May's Music Cafe coming your way out of South Africa. So that should be a great show coming your way, and we definitely look forward to seeing you and your involvement with that. But right now, we're going to get on out of here. But right now, let's let you check out a little bit more about Talking Upstream, and then we get that airplane on out of here.
In 1981, the United Nations established the International Day of
A goal that you